Beautiful thing right now.
Rise and shine, it's a beautiful day. I am alright.
About a third of the building has been blown away.
This is the bridge to white lights.
Our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
And at that point, we were taken for another round of questioning, this time related to our allegedly being members of Mossad.
It's crazy evil.
Howdy, howdy. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. This is the Morning Dump. I am your host, Jose Galison. What's today? Tuesday, July 15th. It's an all right day. Kind of nice sunny day over here. Had a nice morning. Nice little run, a little workout. Did some arms. How are y'all doing this morning? Good to see you guys. StreamYard is still looking weird, so for those who care. So one of these days, maybe I'll figure it out. I'm sorry I'm a little bit, 5 minutes late. I was trying to mess with it to see if I could get it to just look normal like I'm used to, but whatever. We press on, I persevere. We have more stuff to go through with you guys today. The Epstein story keeps on giving. We are now at, okay guys, move on. All the heroes that we were, or the ones we were portrayed to be the heroes, are saying, all right, shut it down, let's move on. So we'll be covering that. Also, seems Israel's tried to scramble against no, he's not Mossad, and let's be real, that's silly. We'll cover that, and I don't know, I think we maybe even might get into some allusions to perhaps, I have theories, and this is an original theory, that he is likely CIA. There's a reason why I think maybe the Tuckers of the world, and some of them are really, really going after him hard. But I don't know, maybe it is just they're one of us. Who knows? But I have a feeling it goes a little bit deeper than we think. But with that all said, let's take a moment to watch a few videos to kind of, just to kind of ease in the crowd while more of y'all roll into the live chats. And we'll watch a few videos, and then we'll get into our foreign policy section of the day after that. But let's start off with, let's talk about this time to move on type narrative that we're hearing. Here's Dinesh D'Souza, him saying just that. Now, to be fair, I did watch this a little bit. This was a little bit edited up, but I don't know. Let's watch it anyways. Let's see what Dinesh has to say here.
I'm going to talk about the Epstein files, and I'm going to make the case that even though there are unanswered questions about Epstein, it is in fact time to move on. Part of being on a political team is maintaining a certain amount of maturity, recognizing you can't win them all, recognizing there are some things that are important to you that are less important to the guy that you've put in charge, who is trying to focus on things right in front of him. And so having a sense of perspective, having a sense of balance, having a sense of maturity, I think is more important even than getting to the bottom of what really happened with Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, wow. What an interesting perspective, Dinesh. Let's see what Charlie Kirk has to say, where he's at right now.
Honestly, I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being. I'm going to trust my friends in the administration. I'm going to trust my friends in the government to do what needs to be done, solve it, balls in their hands. I've said plenty this last weekend. So if you guys want to see my commentary on it, that's fine. Honestly, I'm done.
Now that okay, guys. Come on, guys. Let's be real. Let's not miss the forest for the child rape. Now I say this obviously a little bit of self-promotion here, sort of. I just thought, I don't know, I guess this is a good way to kind of check in for a vibe check, I think. I guess it's a little bit self-congratulatory, too. But yesterday, a little bit of a bow here. A bow. Okay. I massively ratioed Josh Hammer. So Now, for those who are aware who Josh Hammer is, we talked mad shit about him yesterday, and well-deserving. He is a guy who has now debated Dave Smith twice on the Israel issue, the second time being this over this past weekend at the Turning Point USA event. And I don't know, it seems that he's kind of part of this rough narrative. I just thought this was kind of a good example. I just thought it was funny. I think this is like his first actual post since the event, and then he goes... Which I do want to note, you guys, I think I covered yesterday how I made fun of it, and I think I was one of the larger things, and it was weird. I think I was the only ones that took that angle, and it seems to be that got under his skin. Maybe I'm full of myself here, maybe I'm not, but I find it interesting that the first post he does address that. When really Dave didn't really hammer him on it too much. I think it was just one of those ones that just kind of goes under there, and you just know it gets in your head. You're like, oh, because Dave did say it. But he just didn't drive that point home. He just said it once, and then just kind of never really got addressed again in the debate. He kind of mentioned I called them out for the whatever child rape thing. It's even just bringing it up, and even then just giving the rebuttal, and just letting it sit there. That kind of, let's be real, it portrays you as you're running cover for this, just kind of outside looking in. So for people not really know what's going on, so not a good look. So while I said that didn't really get driven home and didn't really get focused on, I just feel I know if I was him, that would be what I stuck out. Fuck, man, that really, even though that it didn't really even take up any sort of bandwidth in that debate, it still would be something that would just be under my skin. That I gotta address this, and especially where I did hammer him on that online. I don't know. Maybe he does not seeing me. Maybe he's muted me immediately. I don't know. I don't really care, but whatever. I know I'm making a dent because, like I said, I just fucking ratio the shit out of him. Right here. He says, I understand why many in MAGA are upset over Epstein. I do. He says, but don't miss the forest for the trees. This has been the most conservative DOJ by far in my lifetime. And Trump is on an incredible winning streak now, more broadly. He goes, today's Newsweek show. And then he goes, this is at podcasts, and then this is the Josh Hammer show. Now, I just showed you that I did ratio. His got now it's up to 1,000. So he's actually gotten better. It was almost a 3x. It seemed like for a minute, but whatever. I settled on a 2x ratio. I said to him, guys, don't miss the forest for the child rape, and I said fucking scum, and then I put a picture of Charlie Kirk and JD Vance giving a thumbs up as just a silly little meme, and that got over 2K. So just as a vibe check of where the people are at. Yeah, no, they're not willing to move on. Now, I don't know, this is, I guess, a little bit of an aside, but I found this particularly interesting, and in a weird way, a little bit of a white pill. Now, Josh Hammer, as we've talked about understanding metrics, look at this guy right here. If you're watching this, if you're listening, if you're watching, you can see what I'm doing. If you're listening, he's Josh Hammer. I didn't really know much about this guy. Most people seemingly didn't know much about this guy until before then. Now, right here we have, just looking at his bio, author, Israel and His Civilization, host The Josh Hammer Show, syndicated columnist, senior editor-at-large in Newsweek. So he is a senior editor-at-large in Newsweek. Now, I know there's multiple editors whenever you're talking about any sort of publication. I forget what the fucking at-large is in relation to the other ones. It sounds big. But either way, it's some sort of named position in Newsweek. He is an editor of some sort, senior counsel for whatever the Article 3 project is, but he also has the Josh Hammer Show. Now, I found this. He has 150+ thousand followers on Twitter, and he is the senior editor-at-large in Newsweek. Now, what did I say? I said someone responded to me here, and I just for shits and gigs, I looked into it. So I put here in the replies, getting him the child rape too. As I told you guys yesterday, yeah, I'm going to keep railing these guys about the child rape thing because it's a big deal and it's kind of a silver bullet. So why would I not just keep on, just finger on the trigger, just kind of pew 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 pew, just keep filing them silver bullets? If I have the infinite ammo cheat code, why not do it? Why not kill some werewolves? That's what I'm doing. Now, so I did call him out again. Now, somebody pointed out, people respect this guy. They think he's some intellectual and moral titan. It's insane. Now, back to this metrics thing. Then I go, funny thing is, they actually don't. It's smoke and mirrors. I said, his podcast versus mine. I said, he's been on 10 times as big of shows, 10 times as many times, which he has. If you go look at his thing, you can see. And even then, he does more of the in-person things. I've only done Jake Shields and Tim Pool in person. And so far as big shows, I've done the big ones people talk about. I've done obviously Tinfoil Hat, probably I think 3 times, maybe more. I've done Part of the Problem. I've done Jake Shields show. I've done IRL a few times. Did I say part of the problem? Jake Shields. I feel like I'm missing one, and I feel like I'm being really rude because it is a big show. Jake Shields, Dave Smith, IRL, Sam Tripoli. Really feel like I'm forgetting someone. If okay, whatever. Point being is, but then you look at his, and it's like his are all like in person, and they're like big shows. Like you see him on like in studio at Rubin Report and this and that, and big time. You see him on all the shows. I mean, I'm not saying he's been like Rogan or anything crazy. Now take a look at this. I found this particularly interesting. Now this is Spotify right here. This is a Spotify metrics. Now if you go look at here, here's me, No Way Jose Galisan. You look at me, you can see right here, this is 4.7, 120. What that tells you right there is I have 4.7 stars on Spotify. That means from you guys who go on there, leave ratings out of all of you, and then 120, that next number, out of the 120 of you guys who have done that, 4.7 stars. Now, this is a pretty sad number. There should be more than 120 of you guys. Come on, let's be real. Step that up. Let's give me some more 5 stars. But even then, it's pretty rare. It's not that crazy. It's not a shameful number at all. And my show's not huge. I'm a pretty humble guy. I'm not. I know technically we're supposed to do the whole like salesmanship and talk about how big and great I am. I don't know, it's not really my style. Now, either way, but now let's move over here. Look at this guy, Josh Hammer Show, 4.275. So that right there is 4.2 stars. So he is significantly lower rated than me, and he also has somewhere in the realm of almost 50 less. And don't be wrong, this is just one metric. There are many metrics to go on, and I actually tried to look at other metrics. I tried to see if I can find a YouTube or maybe some other platforms at which he put him out. No, this is the only place at which he put him out, which actually the funny thing is that only makes this metric worse, meaning there's no other like, oh, I do really good on this platform, I do really good on that platform. No, you just, despite the fact you go on every fucking major show in the world and you fucking are a major editor at one of the largest fucking publications in the United States, despite all that, no one gives a fuck what you have to say. And isn't that just beautiful? I mean, there's a little bit of a dark sinister side that they managed to play the smoke and mirrors game where they get people to think that's the case. But me, just little of me, Jose, that's new. Even there, look right there, it literally has Newsweek as the thing too. So it shows at the bottom, Newsweek. Even associates his name with Newsweek. You know what my name's associated with? Me. That's what it's associated with. So get fucked, Josh Hammer. Now, in the interest of fairness, I do want to add Charlie's little. He addressed this. He says this is such a lame, non-controversy. Obviously, I say address. This is addressing his take in this narrative. Him saying he's done talking about it and how he's going to trust his friends. Obviously, his is a little bit different than the other kind of perspective, like kind of what we're seeing for some people, which is like, hey, don't miss the forest for the child rape type shit. And then but either way, it's still not great in my opinion. We'll get into that. So let's hear what he has to say. He said, yes, I spent the weekend talking about Epstein, as did many of our speakers at SAS. Nothing was off limits. I discussed how the communication and transparency could be much improved, how the base wasn't going to just move on and provide options for ways forward. Now I'm giving them space to operate. The ball is in their court, and I'm trusting those in charge, many of whom I know personally and consider friends, to find a solution, which I'm confident is in the works. I'll be more than happy to talk about Epstein again as updates come, because the video also cuts short the actual commentary and says, Charlie Kirk, plenty was said this weekend at our event about Epstein. Honestly, I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being. I'm going to trust my friends in the administration. I'm going to trust my friends in the government to do what needs to be done. Solve it, balls in their court. But let me just say this again. Everyone knows my opinion about the Epstein thing, the messaging fumble. I would love to see the DOJ move to unseal the grand jury testimony. I think that would be a big win. I would love to see that. And I'm going to trust my friends, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, and my friend Pam Bondi. All these guys. Todd Blanche, I'm going to trust them to solve it. Balls in their court. I think that there was plenty of, let's say, speeches that were directed towards this topic last week. And you know what, Charlie? The second, adding the further context did not make this better. It made it worse. What people are disgusted by here, frankly, was, there is some sort of I'm done talking about it, although I guess I didn't necessarily interpret it as you're not going to ever talk about it again. I did see that. I did kind of understand that instinctively as perhaps being deceptively edited. But what I and many others take umbrage to is I'm gonna trust my friends in the government. And this is why, my dear balloon-headed chud, this is why people are calling you. Because the fact that you would dare, despite all of this, you even still have obfuscated, do not even dare to call out Trump by name. And even still, you're on this pitifully lower level fucking game, and you're still on this, well, they're all my friends, so I'm gonna trust them. No, fuck you. You're useless. You're scum. I take back nothing I said. This is pathetic. I'm sorry. It's not good enough. It is literal child rape. All right, guys, let's go check in and see what you guys got to say. Let's check in on the whole live chat. That was a fun little ranty rant. What's up, guys? Good morning, everybody. Did I even show you guys what I meant to earlier? I don't know if I was perfectly navigating back and forth between tabs. Here is what I was talking about earlier with the side-by-side. So anyways, let's go back over here. Good morning, Andrew Jacobs. Good morning, JMS. Good morning, Comment Mama. Good morning, Nevsky. Good morning, Eddie Grimm. Good morning, Tommy. Good morning, Bog Fights. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Uncle Kaczynski. He said, I'm starting a Who's Who. Was on this on the Epstein list, mailing list. If you're interested, yeah, I'll send you over my mailing list right away. Good morning, Glowy Niggerspit. Good morning, JMS saying Canada's on fire. Yeah, I actually think I have something from her today. So hell yeah. He says I love it when my strong black woman sticking it to nerdy white pervs. Yeah, it is weirdly hot. That's like I think like a porn category or something. I think. Good morning, John Doe. Good morning, Hustle Bones. John Doe says all you need to do is watch all the people sweeping Epstein the rug and tells you all you need to know. Good morning, Northside. Good morning, King David. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, William Miller. Good morning. Good morning, Fendelander. And thank you, Andrew Jacobs. Says I don't Spotify because I'm old, but I did rate and review on Apple Podcasts. So there you go. Tom says all those shows with a big name under the publisher are bullshit. So Kirk is a grifter, says Iris. And good morning to you, Iris. Good morning, everyone. This show being under self-help is funny. That is true. Yeah, it is funny. I do have it under self-help, and I think it's because like I didn't even care, and just like whenever I was setting it up, and just fucking, and I have no idea how to change it. So just that's what it is now. This is a self-help show. This is where you guys hear me rant, and I tell you how you should make your life better. And I'm not at all, liable for anything that happens in your life afterwards. Because, hey, it's not my fault if you take terrible advice. So, all right, guys, let's roll through some foreign policy. So, on the Russia-Ukraine front, a little bit to be concerned about there. Let's get into that. So, Trump announces weapons plan for Ukraine, gives Russia 50-day deadline for tariffs. Says President Trump on Monday met with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte at the White House and announced a plan to provide Ukraine with billions of dollars worth of U.S. military equipment by selling U.S. weapons to NATO countries that will then be transferred to the war-torn nation. The president also said that if a peace deal isn't reached within 50 days, he will impose tariffs on Russia. So now this is where we're at now. So we're giving them weapons, but it's through the UN, and now we're just doing this like gay roundabout thing where we're like, well, we're getting weapons, but it's a business deal, so it's good or some shit. Even though, let's be real, I think whenever you get down to the money side of things, it's never even really. I don't think it's even really all that profitable, depending on the situation, especially if it's considering Israel, or if it's including Israel. A lot of the times these things, they call them sales, and whenever you get down to brass tacks, they technically aren't even really a sale. They're basically here you go. So a source told Axios the U.S. is expected to sell $10 billion worth of military equipment to NATO countries in the first wave. Explaining the weapons plan to wet reporters. By the way, I'm sorry if you hear Jeff. I don't know what his deal is. I just gave him food before this. He's just being an annoying dick. Food and water and everything. Rutte said the idea was to ensure the U.S., which he described as a police agent of the world, is able to maintain its military stockpiles while also providing a massive amount of weapons to Ukraine. The U.S. needs to make sure that it can keep its hands on what the U.S. needs to keep the whole world safe, because in the end, you are the police agent of the whole world. But given that, the U.S. has decided to massively supply Ukraine with what is necessary through NATO, Europeans will be 100% paying for that, Rutte said. So, yep. So that's the NATO Secretary General, literally referring to the United States as the policeman of the world, which is great. Isn't that great? Trump and Rutte said that they'd gotten commitments from European countries to purchase U.S. Weapons for Ukraine. I will say that I spoke with Germany, spoke with most of the larger countries, and they are really enthusiastic about this, and they're willing to go really far, Trump said. Trump and Rudd didn't elaborate on the type of arms that would be sent, except to mention that more U.S.-made Patriot air defense systems would be supplied to Ukraine. Sources told Axios that the weapons will also include long-range weapons that can strike deep into Russia. Regarding tariffs, Trump threatened to impose 100% tariffs on Russia and secondary tariffs that would target Moscow's trading partners, which include China and India. We're going to be doing very severe tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. Now, this is the real, well, obviously the weapons thing is what the fuck? That's super gay, and it's dumb Trump bluster of we're doing a fucking deal. It's okay. Peace through strength. I'm pushing for peace. We're selling weapons to foreign nations. It's okay, but it's a business deal. It's just a business deal. As opposed, I don't know. It's just this is just old. This old shit. It's but the tariffs are where you're whoa, okay, all right, what the fuck? And this is it's about to get even more rocky. So keep listening. While announcing measures to continue the proxy war, Trump is still trying to distance himself from the conflict, calling it a Biden war and a Democrat war. The president insisted that he still wants to bring the conflict to an end and that he hopes the new military aid and tariff threat will do that. This is not Trump's war. We're here to get it finished and stopped, he said. Trump also expressed frustration with Putin, saying that he has nice conversations with the leader, but the missiles keep targeting Ukrainian cities. My conversations with him are very pleasant, and then missiles go off at night, he said. Russia has made clear that it won't back down its core demands for a peace deal, Ukrainian neutrality, and the recognition of the 4 Oblast Moscow annexed in 2022 as Russian territory, which will require Ukrainian withdrawal from the territory it still controls in those areas. Oh, I thought there was more on the tariff side of things, because I know there was something. I think there's some bill in that's being pushed right now, which I thought maybe there was a story on it. Maybe it was just some aside Dave made on it when I was listening to his show this morning. So I assume there was more on that, but I know maybe there'll be more on that in the future, because I think there's some bill out there for tariffs and some insanely crazy high tariffs for Russia essentially is pushed through, and we have a ridiculous amount of sponsors on it. But I don't know, I'm assuming that'll probably come up maybe in a later show or something. But either way, sketchy. So thank God we don't have Kamal in office, right? We'd be fucking still at war with Russia, wouldn't we? Isn't that great? Well, we got 117 Palestinians dead in the last 24 hours, so that's the daily there. Unfortunately, sad stuff. Just still on murdering, sad, starving people, and that keeps on going. That's what your money paid for today. So, or yesterday actually. So I'm sure tomorrow there'll be more things that your money paid for. And then on the other side of the pond, over in actually not the side of the pond. I'm retarded. That was a stupid euphemism. I was just trying to say over in Israel. There's no pond that separates the two. I don't know why I said that. Exclusive families of Israeli captives reach out to Hamas over fate of ceasefire talks. So this is particularly interesting that we have literally families of hostages that are reaching out to Hamas to be like, hey, because they're just nothing's happening on the other side of things. So that is particularly interesting. Maybe read a little bit of this, probably not read it all, but you can go check this on your own. This is the Middle East Eye. This is a family of Israeli captives held in Gaza reached out to Hamas through a representative to ask about the fate of stalled ceasefire talks. Middle East Eye can reveal. Sources told MEE that the third party reached out to Hamas after the captive's family feared Netanyahu was trying to torpedo a possible deal. A senior figure within Hamas told the representative to relay to the families that it was serious about reaching an agreement to end the war and release the captives, but that it was facing intransigent Israeli positions, sources told MEE. Hamas is serious about reaching an agreement to end the war and establish arrangements to ensure calm and stability. It has demonstrated significant flexibility and positive responsibility during the negotiation rounds, the sources quoted Hamas as saying. Israel has insisted on continuing the war, destroying the Gaza Strip, displacing its population, and imposing a state of hunger, suffering, and ongoing massacres that have not ceased for a single day. It says Hamas and Israel reached a brief three-stage ceasefire in January, but the deal collapsed in March after Israel took back several of its captives and resumed bombing Gaza, walking away from the deal before talks with Hamas on a permanent end to the war could start. So, I don't know, it's just not looking good, but hey, we gotta, I don't know, maybe something interesting could come of this. I mean, I know maybe something rising up amongst the people over there. I mean, I know they're dealing with their own political issues over here, much like this. We have this next story. Key ultra-Orthodox factions announced they will leave Netanyahu's coalition over a draft bill. So it says Degel HaTorah, the Lithuanian faction of the ultra-Orthodox United Torah Judaism Party. Holy shit, there's a lot of qualifiers there. Announced on Monday evening that it will leave the Netanyahu coalition and government. Later on Monday, Agudat Yisrael, the other faction of UTJ, announced it would also be leaving the coalition. The decision was made in response to the government not advancing a bill to exempt ultra-Orthodox from IDF service. Talks were held in the Knesset to draft a version of the bill with Prime Minister Netanyahu, Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee Chair Yuli Edelstein, and Coalition Chair Ophir Katz taking part. A party official told Haaretz that the draft exemption law was presented to representatives at Degel HaTorah and that Netanyahu himself made changes to the document during the meeting. The official said Netanyahu demanded that Edelstein present the text of the law that he had pledged to do on the eve of the attack on Iran. Otherwise, he would be fired. According to him, the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee is presenting the text unwillingly. However, a source in Netanyahu's office told Haaretz that the prime minister is not considering firing Edelstein at this time. Israel Kravitz, an associate of Rabbi Dov Landau, a leading Lithuanian Haredi rabbi, said on Monday evening that Degel HaTorah would remain in the coalition if a draft of the bill is presented in a manner that is acceptable to the rabbis. Even after Rabbi Landau signed the letter, we gave several hours to try and fix this, he told Haredi radio station called Barama. If Netanyahu presents a draft acceptable by the rabbis, we'll go back to the government. Our UTJ is the main Ashkenazi ultra-Orthodox faction in Israel and a key partner in Netanyahu's right-wing coalition. Its two parties, the Hasidic Agudat Yisrael and the non-Hasidic Degel HaTorah, have long opposed compulsory military service for full-time religious students, a deeply contentious issue in Israeli society and politics. Until now, Degel HaTorah took a softer position than its partner, Agudat Yisrael, which has taken a more aggressive line in the struggle over the exemption bill. Former faction chairman M.K. Yitzhak Goldknopf, really? All right, resigned from Netanyahu's government in June over the issue. Degel's HaTorah faction has 4 Knesset members, while the coalition headed by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was composed of 67 lawmakers in the Knesset before the announcement. So essentially, from my understanding of this, is they're set to lose a couple major partners in their right-wing faction. I think they still would have the majority and still be able to have the political will to get most things through, but my understanding is that they would be at a slim margin. So politically speaking, this is kind of a good thing for everybody else. And then over on the Iran side of things, we have the Khamenei advisor saying no nuclear talks if U.S. demands Iran abandon uranium enrichment. This is a senior advisor to Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei said on Monday the U.S. must respect Iran's red lines if it wants to resume nuclear negotiations and not demand that Tehran abandon uranium enrichment. They say Iran must abandon uranium enrichment, but this is one of our red lines. If talks are conditional on halting enrichment, they simply won't happen. Ali Valayati said during a meeting with Pakistan's interior minister in Tehran, according to Iran's IRNA news agency. Trump has been threatening to bomb Iran again if it resumes its uranium enrichment program, something Tehran says it has a right to as its signatory of the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Since it has pledged not to develop nuclear weapons, it remains unclear how long it would take Tehran to restart enrichment following the U.S. and Israeli attacks on its nuclear program. So obviously we have that to be concerned about. And then all this... Well, we have all this going on. We have the U.S. pressing Japan and Australia on what they would do if the U.S. goes to war with China over Taiwan. So essentially, we're contacting our foreign allies, going, hey. Let's say theoretically we're going to war with China. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? So here we go. The Pentagon's pressing Japan and Australia to make clear what role they would play if the U.S. goes to war with China over Taiwan. The Financial Times reported over the weekend. The report said that the Pentagon's policy chief, Elbridge Colby, has been pressing the issue in recent meetings with Japanese and Australian officials, an effort that has frustrated officials in Tokyo and Canberra. Appearing to confirm the report, Colby said in a post on X, the Pentagon is implementing President Trump's America First foreign policy by urging allies to step up their defense spending and other efforts related to our collective defense in both Europe and Asia. Of course, some among our allies might not welcome frank conversation. So he's trying to frame this as if like, oh, well, it's our American First policy, which for one is kind of a creepy thing that like the American First policy, they did this like inversion thing that like now like, oh, well, our American First foreign policy. No. That's not like us like focusing on our nation and like us getting out of foreign entanglement. No. What we mean is that like we're going to continue doing that, but we're going to like also bully all the other foreign nations to also be involved in our belligerent actions more. That's basically what they've changed it into. But anyways, so he's portraying it as that. So it's interesting. So they're, but and then also on top of it, it's odd because apparently our current position is literally, it's called strategic ambiguity. Is there, the United States position towards what we would do if anything happened with Taiwan. We kind of leave it in like a don't you do that, but I'm not going to tell you what I do if you do that. Like that, it's where we're at. And so it's odd that we are pressing other nations to be like, hey, well, let's say theoretically we go toward China. What would you do? So it sounds to me like you're trying to make some war plans there, buddy. So yeah. All right, let's roll through the chat. That's foreign policy, and we'll get through some other stories. All right, let's check in. Hey, good morning, Lawrence. Good morning. I mean, why wouldn't you trust the government, says Hustle Bones. Someone says, I like the India tariffs. Yeah, if you're going to tariff India anywhere, tariff India. Fuck them. So, I mean, not that it does anything, just because fuck India. That's basically it. Good morning, JC. Good morning. See more people rolling in. Good morning, Ray. Good morning, everybody. All right, let's check in on this probable glowy, this bald glowing fuck, Mike Benz. Says this is, he quote tweeted this tweet from Benny Johnson, and this is why when you feel strongly about something, you should never shut the fuck up. Never underestimate the power of X. So, all right, I know we covered we covered at the beginning of the show, the top of the show, we covered the whole, the time to move on. Well, the ones who didn't move on, like remember yesterday we showed Benny, and Benny was super mad, as well he should be. Well, okay, well here's the off-ramp that is being built again. You remember how I keep saying it seems like over and over again we keep having these like the sycophants below Trump that are create the off-ramp to either scuttle this away or whatever the next cover-up, and then he just comes and Leroy Jenkins it. I know this time maybe that won't be the case, and I know you guys know my thoughts on the Ghislaine thing. We'll probably come back to that more, but it's just funny that here we go again. Here we have Benny Johnson saying, just got it off the phone with top federal law enforcement contact. So this is the next stage in the WWE show we got going here. So the change in approach to Epstein has been dramatic. Expect more disclosures. Some very powerful people inside admin are now pushing for a special counsel and a full press briefing on Epstein findings. Important to note, this drastic change happened after Charlie Kirk and a number of other powerful MAGA voices pushed back on the handling of the Epstein case this weekend at the Turning Point Conference. They were met with massive roars and applause from the 7,000 gathered that could not be ignored. In short, our voices are being heard. Power to the people. Woo! And just in the media points out here, Trump will always be on record having told Americans to stop worrying about this, that it's a nothing burger. Whatever they will come up with next, people observe it with low trust. As well they will, but I don't know, they're still scurrying, they're still trying. I'm kind of waiting for the Leroy Jenkins section of this, or it to transition into what I'm theorizing it's probably going to, into the Ghislaine cover-up, but we'll see. And then more on this, the further movements in the show, that is whatever the fuck this administration is. Dan Bongino's back to work. So let's hear this pathetic worm explain to us the situation in the administration.
We have some breaking news for you on this program that I just learned about Dan Bongino and his future at the FBI. As we know, Dan, he's been a bit of a mentor to me, quite frankly. He's always been very helpful in our show, even calling me randomly to give me pointers on certain things. He's just been a wise advisor. He's always been good, and he's been solid. He cares a lot about this country, and he has a heart of gold and a very big heart. and he's somebody that
get his dick out of your mouth.
Wants to make it a better place. And the fallout from the Epstein saga, of course, caused Dan to say, it's going to be really tough to return to my show, you know, to do what I love to do after all of this. If it really goes south, you know, will people trust me? Because they don't. And they don't trust this stuff, and we haven't done it in the right way. And I called a number of people.
Look how dead his eyes go there. Like, yeah, because they don't trust him.
With direct knowledge of this, and this was Dan's frustration, is that the disclosures were not great, and the way that
God, just watch it. He's really not liking selling some of these lines. All right, let's
it
keep
was
going.
handled and the way that it was released was not great, and that he was being blamed in part for it. And so Dan didn't show up to work and sort of gave an ultimatum to President Trump and said, "Hey, listen, Pam Bondi either goes or I go." And he and Pam Bondi had quite a bit of a blow up at the White House on Wednesday. Dan hadn't showed up to work since. I don't want to see Dan go. Neither did the American people, by the way.
It's Bongino or Bondi. He's not
Who
saying...
would you guys prefer, Bongino or Bondi? Okay, 7,000 to 0.
They want Dan.
I just did some phone calls, and I found out that Dan Bongino not only is back working at the FBI, that cooler heads have prevailed here.
Guys, he's back. He went back to work. He took a day off, went day drinking, and we're good. Crisis averted.
That Dan is actually working on something very, very important. Also,
it's just so low effort. Fucking shit.
Everything's changed. There is a positive mood for Dan, according to my source, after further internal movement towards Epstein disclosures and transparency. Trump team is back together and locking in. That's what I was told.
This is nothing.
Sources say. But this is what else I got from another source. There are some big things happening that we may not be able to see right now, but
Ghislaine. Calling it, Ghislaine.
It's been very positive. All of you in the comment section, posting on X, writing right here, letting your voice be heard in whatever way that you do that, it's worked. Further sources confirm to me there's going to be a major change in approach to the way that this Epstein file will be handled by the administration. Expect more disclosures. Very powerful people inside the admin are now pushing for a special counsel. Full press briefing on Epstein findings. Important to note that this drastic change happened after our voices were heard, but also Steve Bannon, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, and a number of other people, Charlie Kirk, really locking in and giving some tough love to the administration over this. They were met.
Can you imagine like trying to spin this as anything other than just absolute pathetic? It's just, I don't know. It's just the fact that we still have this like low level, it's just, frankly, it's disgusting. The fact that we even are able to have these influencers still lingering at this low level analysis of, oh, Bondi, Bongino, cash, Bongino, Bondi, cash, Bongino, Bondi, cash, Bongino, cash, Bondi, Bongino. Like, oh, this is a stupid game. Like, are you that dumb? Like, I don't know, just poke your head up amongst the bullshit and you go, oh, Trump. It's just really that simple. This is all just faggotry, just faggot pageants. This is all this is. Just faggot pageants. Just everyone just doing a little dance, trying to be like, I'm the prettiest little faggot. I'm the prettiest little faggot. All right, I'm gonna come in my swimsuit. Look what a pretty little faggot I am. That's what this is. This is what this is. Just a bunch of people showing just faggot pageantry. That's all this is. And then more to this, more faggot pageantry. Now they've rolled out someone who she's a Trump, I guess. This Laura Trump, is that his daughter? I don't know who this shit is, or is she just someone who happens to have the same last name? But I guess she's saying the Trump administration is going to release more. So let's hear what she has to say. It's going to play it.
What would be your advice? Given this back and forth, we're just coming off of Turning Point here in Tampa. This was the topic of conversation. What would be your advice in order to take the temperature down on this issue from within the administration?
Well, I do think that there needs to be more transparency on this. And I think that will happen. I mean, look, I don't know what truly exists there, but I know that this is something that's important to the president as well. He does want transparency on all these fronts, everything we're talking about, because it's frustrated him as well. He sat for 4 years like the rest of us did and saw lie after lie and saw our country just being sent down the wrong path. And it was really frightening and very upsetting to a lot of people to see. And I would actually say over the past 10 years, we've all kind of endured this. Prior to that, it was probably happening, Benny, but we just weren't as aware of it. It wasn't until Donald Trump came down that golden escalator that he just kind of blew the doors off of everything. And people started to wake up and realize, wait a minute, things are not as they have always been presented to us. And I do believe that you will see that. Now, as it relates to the president, I know that this is probably not his number one thing he's focused on. He's focused on a lot of other important things. We've got this big announcement with Russia going on, I think, as we're speaking right now at the White House. We have, a Middle East, we're trying to get peace over there. We're trying to make sure that Iran's nuclear arsenal is obviously completely decimated. We want to make sure everything is on the right track for this country. Fortunately, you've seen no border crossings in the last month. 0, by the way. I think that's incredible. No one's talking about that enough. 0 illegal border crossings in the month of June. Amazing how that's all gone. So I don't know that this was top of mind for him, but he hears all the noise and he hears all of the consternation out there. And I think he's going to want to set things right as well. So I believe that there will probably be more coming on this. And
by the way, I just looked up. That's his daughter-in-law, Trump. I don't know why. I couldn't remember that. That's his daughter-in-law. So
I believe anything that they are able to release that doesn't, damage any witnesses.
Married to Eric.
Or anyone underage or anything like that, I believe they'll probably try to get out sooner rather than later because they hear it and they understand it. So hopefully we see that happen sooner than later. And I guess that would be my advice. But to everybody out there who's all worked up about it, there's no great plot to keep this information away that I'm aware of. I do just believe that maybe it's been slow rolled for reasons that hopefully,
if my father-in-law was on an island wearing children's faces, I'm sure he would have told me about it. I don't know. This is worthless. Okay. I mean, I don't even, what does this bitch even do? I mean, is she even got a fucking position or something? Like, what is she? I just think she's just the wife of fucking Eric, which, okay, cool. I'm glad we got the opinion of, oh, she's a former co-chair of the RNC. Okay, that's something. All right, that's something. Okay, and that's not a nobody. So the former co-chair, okay, I take that back. That's something. She's got some political clout, but either way, okay, whatever. There's nothing. Oh, we're going to do some things. We're going to do some things. Sources say things are going to happen. Sources say. Just keep listening. Sources say. And then here we have Ro Khanna. He goes, why are the Epstein files still hidden? Who are the rich and powerful being protected? Because on Tuesday, I'm introducing an amendment to force a vote demanding the full Epstein files be released to the public. The speaker must call a vote and put every Congress member on record. And here we have, it got blocked by the Republicans. The House Republicans just blocked a vote to release the Epstein files. Here's the list of Republicans who voted to block the release. So this is a Rules Committee record vote. So it says motion by Mr. McGovern to make an order amendment number 50 to HR 3633 offered by Representative Khanna, which would require the Attorney General to preserve and release any records related to Jeffrey Epstein. Defeated 5-7. So we see the 7, Miss Fishbach, Miss Houchin, Mitch Lankworthy, Mr. Austin Scott, Mr. Griffith, Mr. Jack, Miss Fox. So the ones who voted against it. And then I thought it was weird. I don't know what to make of this. And then the latest, the commentary from Tim Pool. It's absolutely insane that Democrats actually voted to have the U.S. government publish child porn. What the fuck is going on anymore? And I don't know. I almost have a half mind to want shit on Tim, but I'm like, does he know something I don't? I mean, it's just an astounding take that Tim would have that I don't know, that thought never even crossed my mind that this bill would mean that would therefore mean they're going to release child porn. I guess it's technically a way to interpret it. I don't know, maybe if we looked at the full specific wording of whatever the fuck this what was it supposed to be, an amendment. Maybe if we looked into the specific wording of the amendment, but I don't know. I feel like that would be something after the fact. They go, oh, we could change the minor. I feel like there's easy workarounds for any sort of child porn. There's blurring. There's, oh, we redact this one. There's clearly would be. I really don't. Don't get me wrong. I'm the first person to point out how crazy incompetent government is, but I really don't think even if it got voted through, if then someone was like, oh, well, technically this means we can release child porn, they wouldn't go, okay, fuck it, release a child porn. I don't think anyone, I don't know, it's just such a bizarre take for me. Who the fuck really, I don't know, I guess it's just astounding to me that anyone would even really, and I'm just trying to even wrap my head around this fucking Tim Pool take, because I'm like, maybe he knows something I don't. I'd release any records? Like, yeah, I guess sure, you can be the pedantic guy and go, well, that means technically they'd be releasing child porn. Like, okay, thanks, Timmy. Well, I think that means they probably would be excluding that shit, right? Like, come on. I don't know. Maybe he knows something I don't. I mean, I have half a mind to really shit on him because this does seem like weird knee-jerk. Like, why are you running to the aid of, oh, we should not be releasing... I mean, I don't know. It just seems like, narratively speaking, this seems like a weird shitting in the cereal, I guess, of the people who want freedom for it, I guess. I don't know. It's more of like what he does. He does this weird, like, plausibly deniable, but yet kind of is still taking a shit in your swimming pool at the same time. You're like, what? And he's like, well... I don't know. That was I had to poop, I guess, or I don't even. The metaphor doesn't hold here, but everyone who watches him enough knows. Watch from the outside, you look and he does these weird little things where you're like, and then later you'd be like, well, what I really meant was this. I mean, like you guys that are stupid for thinking I would say something and mean it. Ha. Okay. Or I leave obvious implications and you think that. Okay. And it's not even in like a trolly way where you're like. Because I've pointed out before, I actually kind of like stuff like that, where you put up certain messaging that can be interpreted two separate ways by essentially. I'm trying to think of a good one. I can't even think of a good one on the top of my head, but it's like kind of the mark of like a good, honestly, like a good, I guess a good troll. Really, is something that can be interpreted multiple ways. That like if you are someone who is disingenuous, like if you are just wanting to be upset or wanting to misunderstand the opposite, that it's like you have to choose to be upset. Those are some of the best. But and like it's sort of what Tim does, but not really. Like it's like you do have to choose, but it's stuff where it doesn't even make sense. Like why what? There's no there's no plus side. It doesn't there's no troll, there's nothing to the troll. Like it's just like it'll be like so if this is a troll, is I guess my point, like what it's like, well, I was trolling you. Haha. Okay, what was the point of that? Like I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. It's like if you've seen good trolling, you're like, oh, okay, cool, that was clever. It's like Tim tries to, and it's always like just confused, socially retarded trolling that seemingly is somehow magically always seemingly in support of the establishment, and then just like, oh, well, I was joking, or whatever the fuck it is. Like, okay, dude, all right, whatever. Okay, man, whatever the fuck that is. I'm not gonna watch your show every day to be like, oh, well, I'm not the disingenuous guy because I watched 3 hours of his fucking show and he actually has a super nuanced take on this. Instead, he just was a weird faggot about it online. Like, okay, whatever. So yeah, that's his take, which I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. I'm thinking in real time, like maybe there's a way to honestly understand this, because it's like, did anyone in here really understand this as like, yep, Congress they're totally going to release child porn. Like, yeah, maybe you could be like, haha, technically the wording of this bill would make them release child porn, but like, I'm sure that'll get fixed in post or whatever the fuck it is they do, their fucking gay-ass bureaucratic system of laws. I don't know. I just highly doubt we're going to get to a situation where porn is dropped. So, I don't know, or child porn. So you guys, you let me know. I don't know, let's roll through the chat. It's been minutes since I checked in with you guys. Here's Nevsky saying no matter what they disclose, it would never be enough because everything is a cover-up. You're like partially true, but that doesn't, like, while that is sort of true, that doesn't mean they shouldn't try. Because as I've said before, like if they led with like my theory of what they're going with the Ghislaine thing, I would just be someone pointing from the side. I would have very little people that were like, oh my God, like there would be no like, there wouldn't be the entire like MAGA movement that's like the populace, at least, is like the, as opposed to like the elite side of it would like the be on my side of this. They would not, because like I've said many times, what this has been is a slap in the face, spit in the mouth. Like, whereas like at least like a cover up, like the cover-ups of old where they trick you into, at least it's like they fucking basically Bill Cosby'd us. They like fucking slipped the roof and, took us out for a good night. We had a fun time. They fucking slipped something in our drink and we're like, oh shit, wake up the next day and you're like, what the fuck happened? I don't know, that was a fun night. And then you're like, you don't even know you got fucked. Whereas like, no, they're just like, this one right here, they're like staring you in the eyes. They're like using like objects and stuff. Like there's like, and they're just being like, at the same time, be like, I'm not, and then also looking you in the eyes as they're doing it, like, I'm not fucking you. Like, I'm not happy. This isn't happening. I'm not fucking you. It's not happening. And you're like, dude, you're literally currently raping me. Like, nope, no, I'm not. Not happening. nope. Nope. Like that's the difference. Like I don't know. There's a substantive difference between the two things here. Wise Elk says hit that like button. Yes, please do hit that like button. Bongino's a fraud, says Real John Doe for sure. Prince Andrew lost a civil case. No judge will prosecute. Yeah, you are correct. Let's scroll and see what else you guys say. Benny is a spin man, 100%. This is Hustle says this is how most people think because most people are retards. That's true. Yes, true. Hustle says nobody actually cares about the puddle ring. They just care about the scandal. Yeah, I guess maybe. I don't know. There we go. Eric Trump's wife, everybody's pointed out. Get more lip filler, you dumb bitch, is what everybody's saying. Here you go. Nevsky says, I think something big with the Epstein stuff will come out a few months before the midterms. I don't know. That would be a weird, I mean, maybe. I wouldn't be surprised. I still think it'll be part of some sort of larger cover-up, but even still, it was insane. Like, there was no reason. This is an unforced error, all of this. So this idea of, which I don't know if this is what you're doing here, Nevsky. This seems like almost like cope of like, oh, cool. Well, maybe some stuff before the midterm. You're like, all of this is unforced error. They could have easily kept dragging their feet. And if the whole idea was something was supposed to happen by the midterms, it's like, well, they could just drag their feet till then. And it's like, is the idea here that, oh, well, this was supposed to be some part of some sort of coordinated media spin that they just fumbled this fucking hard? That's just kind of unbelievable. I'm sorry. Jacob Bilski says fit game performer of the middle school grade level analysis from influencers is so tiresome. Exactly. Yeah. Just keep him Bundy. Oh, Bongino. Cash. So yeah. They think you're. You think you're. Oh, what is that game? I'm sorry. You think you're... Wait, what? I'm so confused. Are you mad at me, Comment Mama? More common with wives of these men than we were told. Or I don't know if you're responding. I'm very confused. I'm missing something. You think you're... Did I say something to make you mad, Comment Mama? Or am I just misunderstanding your things? Scrolling through. See what you guys say. Let me see. All right. We aren't stupid, says Wise Elk. If normal people got caught, they can handle basic decorum fine, but not this whole high-profile thing. It doesn't wash. Says, I bet Tim Pool taps people on the opposite shoulder from the back, so they think he's on their side, and he thinks he's hilarious every time. This is top 3-3. Exactly. Yeah. I'm like, I don't get it. I don't know what it is. Here you go. Nostradamus says, everybody talks about Epstein's ties to intelligence community. Nobody talks about Tim Pool being a Fed. I mean, I wish I could say that I knew something about that. I've never seen any information that implies that, and I didn't see... I checked all the closets when I was there, and I didn't see any Jews hiding in there. There were none. I assume maybe if I looked under a mattress, there'd be one furiously, one of the little Chabad fucks, popping out of a tunnel, typing on a laptop or something. But no, I don't know. I didn't see anything. And honestly, a lot of great people there. So I don't know. I mean, maybe. I mean, I guess you could easily run... I feel like you probably could. Not saying he is one, but you probably easily could run an operation like that and still be able to obscure that, information even from your employees, though. So, I feel like even though, I know all other employees and they're cool, those two things can be true at the same time easily, no problem. So, because let's be real, you'd keep that shit to yourself big time. Here we go. JC says, always count the GOP to conveniently make unforced errors when in power. They're usually the Washington Generals. They're not actually supposed to follow through on things they campaign on. Exactly. All right. Let's go through the next story. Here we go. All right. Here is more on the kind of the copium coming from MAGA. Here is Steve Bannon. Let's see what he has to say on this. Oh, no sound. I'm sorry. Give me a minute. I'll fix it. My bad. StreamYard doing its thing again. StreamYard. My bad. I should check that first. All right. Here you go. Try it again.
Turbulence. You're going to see turbulence like you can't believe. We're so far from being through this thing. And there's, quite frankly, a lot of people in the MAGA movement walking around fat, dumb, and happy that, hey, this is all great. It's not when you see what the reality is of where we are and where we have to go. And you're not going to have President Trump forever. Even when we get him in the ability to run in 28, you're not going to have him forever. Eventually, you're going to have to stand up on your own 2 feet and get it done yourself. And sometimes, in doing that, you're not going to be disappointed. Because now, by continuing to force and say, hey, maybe this is a better way, you're going to get some documents on this Epstein situation. Something's going to happen. You're going to have a special prosecutor. You're going to get documents.
So gay. It's all, guys, you guys, good. See, look, guys, it's, I mean, like, I know our fearless leader is like, I don't know, just like multiple times, like doubled down and like, what are you talking about this whole pedophile ring thing? And like, but like, hey guys, it's really good that you guys like really push back because like we might get like a document or two. Like, whoa. All right.
It's going to start unfolding because you were determined. You're not rude or you're not unappreciative. You're sitting there going, this has to be.
I think you should be rude and unappreciative, to be honest.
Be done.
Like, why would you appreciate any of this?
Because cynicism leads to complacency, and complacency leads to apathy.
Like, and I'm sorry, unless I like literally lived in like a border town where like I'm like, I don't know, dealing with daily like crazy over the top like parody level like immigration problems. I don't know. I just really can't as someone just be like, okay, I'll just let all this slide. I guess what other stuff is he doing supposedly so great? And even then, I don't know. That's a quandary. You could probably have an argument when it comes to immigration on whatever, but it's like, I just bizarre. I don't know. Just.
In apathy, you know, the difference between 2, 3, 4, 5% is everything right now. And of course, the Republican, they don't care about that. They're sitting there, look at all articles, getting money on being lobbyists, and they're running around. You know, it's just their incentive is not your incentive. Your incentive is to save your country. That's not theirs. Theirs is to make as much as they can, put their snout in the troughs and get as much as they can as quickly as they can.
By the way, I do want to point out, Comment Mama did say she wasn't mad at me, and she says, wasn't Bannon photographed leading Epi's townhouse in New York City? Well, you're well onto something here. Well, Michael Tracy, while he has been like a wet fart on this whole issue and completely really annoying, he is right on this. Because for those who are unaware, Michael Tracy's kind of been the contrarian through all this, like, oh, you guys are making this big grand conspiracy, and like, I don't know, I think like he's just maybe really into child porn or something. I mean, obviously that's not an honest, take on his perspective, but either way, he's been just picking this weird contrarian take for a lot of this. But he's also been kind of calling out a lot of the people who kind of leading into it. So he's kind of coming at it from a different angle than we are, but it is still, he's kind of hitting a lot of the right notes of kind of what I would get at. So he points out here, Michael Tracy, Bannon has 15 hours of raw Epstein interviews that he's been sitting on for over 6 years. So for those who are unaware, I feel like I think I've mentioned on the show
turbulence,
before,
you're going to see
he has, Bannon created a documentary, I believe years ago, while Epstein was still living. And so he has a ton of hours from Epstein, and he spent a bunch of time with him. And despite all this is kind of where he's at. We're not, I mean, so I think I heard something that it's supposed to come out like next year or some shit, but I don't know. If you're going to be someone on the front lines pushing this, I mean, like, especially someone of your means, then, like, I don't know, you should either, like, really be pushing up the timetable, like, or it should be like, okay, we've pushed up the timetable, like, hell, they should be doing, like, a monetary campaign of, like, hey, here are the reasons why it's not coming out now. It's, hey, because of, money reasons or this or that, and we need to raise this, or there should be some sort of massive push from him and his audience, and whatever needs to be done to get this documentary to where it's ready to be put out, whether that's just fucking raw footage, like just raw fucking interviews, because, like, let's be real, documentary is the raw interviews plus other shit thrown in, like, I mean, I don't know, obviously would undercut the sales of his documentary, but point being is, like, you can't be this guy and also have 15 hours of interviews with this guy and done extensive research with him. And then more on that, here's more from Tracy. He says, according to Michael Wolff's book, Steve Bannon took part in media strategy sessions with Epstein, his lawyers, and Ehud Barak, gaming out how they could restore his image after the 2018 Miami Herald series. This led to Bannon conducting 15 hours of prep interviews with Epstein. So let's go ahead and read this. So, so here's a man. This is remember, keep in mind this is an excerpt from the book. Here's a man absent any forget sympathy, forget skepticism, forget presumption of innocence, absent any humanity. Yeah, we get it," said Epstein. Hitler. Literally, it goes on day after day with no effort on anyone's part, and not on our part either, to look at the record to question anybody's motivations. "So where is the comms piece in this?" asked Bannon over the phone. "Who's handling it? Who's on point? Are these your people, Reed?" "Well, okay, in fact, there really hasn't been anything in place because largely the view has been, let's not call more attention to this or antagonize the judges. This has been before, and not wanting to be seen attacking the victims, and so we haven't." "Let me get this straight," said Bannon. "I think I understand this, but strains credulity. There's nothing in place. There hasn't been anything in place. No communication seems. What was the response from Jeffrey's side of the Florida story? Who engaged?" In November 2018, the Miami Herald had published a multi-part story recounting the earlier charges against Epstein with further devastating accounts from the victims and directly impugning Acosta's motivations in the plea deal. If every successive story about Epstein over the years had once been revived, what might seem to have been a fading issue, in the new climate and now directly tying figures in the Trump administration Epstein, the Miami Herald story gave it rocket boosters. "We didn't engage," said Epstein. "Did we even know about it?" asked Weingarten. "No, Roy Black's office may have gone a call, but we didn't respond," said Epstein. Black was another world-class criminal attorney who had been among the dream team that Epstein had assembled in his first case, a team whose warring egos Weingarten believed had a lot to do with the case's peculiar and unresolved outcome. "I'm part of the problem here, I have to say," Weingarten pulled on his face. "We just have felt, and maybe this is wrong, that any effort to defend Jeffrey publicly stirs the pot and makes it more likely than not that people are going to come out of the woodwork. This is crazy," said Bannon. "Yeah, true. It's 90% bullshit." So, I mean, I guess I don't know the exact context of the specifics here, but either way, yeah, no, Bannon's had plenty of time spent with this guy. The connections here are a little bit, I don't know. They sketch me out. Obviously, I don't know. Maybe there's a way to say this is a legit documentary. He's going to be putting out soon in a year, whatever. There's good reasons why, this hasn't been put out or isn't being put. I mean, it's just bizarre to me that this isn't like, hey, this needs to be put out like now. And then we have we have Michael Wolff, author of several books about the Trump presidency, which like we just covered one of the excerpt from his book. Says he probably has hundreds of hours of Jeffrey Epstein discussing his long-standing deep relationship with Donald Trump. Is it time for Wolff to release the tapes? So here's a clip of him from it. Keep in mind, obviously all we have with Bannon is, damn it did the audio again, didn't it? I'm sorry. Was it play the entire audio with no audio? Fuck, whatever. I want to re-listen to it again anyways. My bad. I'm sorry. I probably should have paid attention to the chat more, and I would have noticed that that was the case. But let's play that again real quick, because I felt like that was important audio. Sorry if you guys had to listen to that entire thing with no audio.
I think we have a snippet from one of the conversations that I recorded with Epstein, and I think this was in a restaurant in 2017.
His people fight each other.
Right.
And then have outsiders. He sort of poisons the well outside. He will tell 10 people Bannon's a scumbag, and Priest is not doing a good job, and Kelly has a big mouth. And what do you think? Jamie Dimon says you're a problem, and I shouldn't keep you. And I spoke to Carl Icahn, and Carl thinks I need a new spokesperson. So Kelly, even though I hired Kellyanne's husband, Kellyanne is just too much of a wild one. And then he tells Bannon, I really want to keep you, but Kellyanne hates you.
I have more than dozens. I probably have 100 hours of Epstein talking about the inner workings of the Trump White House and about his long-standing, deep relationship with Donald Trump.
Now that's particularly interesting. That he is to this degree following the ins and outs of the White House, of the White House and everything. Keep in mind, he got arrested during the Trump administration, which then people go, oh, well, that was Trump. But I think there was some weird. I think they were even referencing in the previous one. I forget the specifics, the circumstances. I think it was there was some sort of court proceeding going on. I think they even referenced it in the, which I already exited out of the tab, but I would bring it back up. What was it, the Herald or the Sun? Or there was some sort of reporting somewhere that kind of blew it out of proportion, or not out of proportion, obviously, brought it to the attention of the people, not out of proportion. But whereas I guess it seemed like they probably were hoping maybe this would just go under the fly under the radar, not be a big story. But essentially I forget the specifics, but somehow he was ended up back in the public eye for legal things. And not back in the public eye. He ended up back in the legal world for some of his proclivities, I guess you could say. And that's where I believe for the second time, that's when then the public eye came upon him and it kind of blew up. So I don't know. I don't really feel like it's fair to be like, to apply anything about his initial arrest to the Trump thing. If anything, it's more fair to apply what the subsequent happenings after that to the Trump one. Because I don't know. Are we really going to try to say that him getting arrested that second time was some sort of Trump impetus? He pushed for that? Perhaps. I mean, that seems like an odd thing to say. So I've seen people throw that out like, oh, that was under Trump presidency, you got arrested. And you're like, yeah, okay, because I don't know. You can only molest so many kids before you got to deal with some sort of legal proceedings, I guess. And he kind of, I guess he got to his 1001 or whatever the fuck it was, and now he had to deal with it. So. Because, yeah, he was sloppy, as it seems, and that's how little he cared. But, it caught back up to him, or it didn't. Who knows? Maybe he's chilling somewhere. But either way, yeah, I think it's interesting. The role this guy seems to occupy. There's something interesting there. And then the relationship with Bannon, obviously, like I've said a couple times now, I don't know. We can say that's completely on the up and up. Maybe that's completely documentary, whatever. But, I don't know. Like I said, I think it's far more attributable to him, to the Trump administration, the things that happen after the arrest, such as, the cover-ups, this, that, because people forget Epstein died. I think even Ghislaine going to prison, happened during the Trump administration as well. So pretty much all of this happened, except for I think the first, because I forget when the Acosta deal was. So that would have been. That one you can't attribute to Trump any way, shape, or form. So, to be fair. So, all right. Anyways, let's move into this next one. I thought this was kind of interesting. It says, MAGA's onslaught of Kamala's past ain't shit from this one guy, since it seems they forgot that Melania met Donald Trump through known pedophile John Casablanca's elite model management's Look of the Year teen model competition. Trump also let Casablancas sexualize a 13-year-old Ivanka for a photo shoot. Once again, I have no idea how true this is. So this is from The Guardian from 14 March 2020. It says teen models, powerful men in private dinners. When Trump hosted Look of the Year in the early 90s, Donald Trump judged the world's biggest modeling competition since hit by allegations of abuse. Now, I remember this was something that floated around a lot. I never really made a big deal. I never really looked into it. I don't know. But now, obviously, I don't know. Now I'm someone who comments on the going-ons of the world, and let's be real. I think current events has caused a lot of us to think maybe we should look back at some of these creepy stuff. A lot of the left was going like, "Oh, look at him talking about grabbing pussies and stuff," and you're like, "Okay, well, I don't know. I've talked about grabbing mini pussies and all sorts of awful things. I've said the N-word. I've said everything. I don't give a shit." So the idea you're like, he talks about having sex with women in crude ways. Yeah, I mean, every dude does, but I don't know, maybe, just maybe, we should look back at these things, and here we are. Maybe there was some substance in there that some of us threw out because they were being raging lefty fags. And I don't know. I don't blame you for it. So let's go through this. It says, we'll read mostly the highlighted portions to keep, just for the sake of time. It says, scores of teenage girls in evening dresses and miniskirts, some as young as 14, dance under disco lights. This is in September 1991 on a large private yacht going towards the Statue of Liberty. It could have been a high school prom were it not for the crowd of older men surrounding them. What the fuck? Okay, I don't like this. As the evening wore on, some of the men, many old enough to be the girls' fathers or even grandfathers, joined them on the dance floor, pressing themselves against the girls. Okay. What the fuck? The party aboard the Spirit of New York was one of several events that Donald Trump, then 45, attended with a group of 58 aspiring young models that September. I don't like this. They had traveled from around the world to compete in Elite's Look of the Year competition, an annual event that had been running since 1983. It was already credited with launching the careers of Cindy Crawford, Helena Christensen, and Stephanie Seymour. At stake was a life-changing prize, a $150,000 contract with the world's then leading modeling agency, Elite Model Management, run by John Casablanca. Man, this is just all, I swear, man, modeling is just basically international prostitution, I swear. I mean, don't get me wrong, I swear there probably are women who legit model and this and that, and like in the same way that like strippers, or I'm sure there are strippers that some of them that will only dance and that won't do anything illicit. So it's like same thing with a model. It's like, I don't know, let's be real, a lot of them have their prices, and to be real, this thing is probably structured around that as being the real product. So just the rest of that is just packaging put around it. So unfortunately. It says Trump was closely involved in Casablanca's competition. In 1991, he was a headline sponsor, throwing open the plaza, his lavish chateau-style hotel overlooking Central Park, transforming it into the main venue and accommodating the young models. He was also one of its 10 judges. In 92, he hosted the competition again. Another group of contestants boarded the Spirit of New York, chartered for another elite cruise. One of the girls in the boat was Shauna Lee, then a 14-year-old from a small town outside Toronto. By the way, I said I was only going to read the highlighted, then I decided I'm going to read all of it, because I'm like, holy shit, as I'm reading this. She recalls that the contestants were encouraged to parade downstairs one by one and dance for Trump, Casablancas, and others. That's okay. That's weird. A woman at the agency was pushing me. I said to her, I don't see why me going down the stairs and dancing in front of those two has anything to do with me becoming a model. Another contestant who was 15 at the time also remembers being asked to walk for Trump, Casablancas, and other men on the boat in September 92. She says an organizer told her that if she refused, she might be excluded from the competition. I knew in my gut it wasn't right, she recalls. This wasn't being judged or part of the competition. It was for their entertainment. Over the last 6 months, the Guardian has spoken to several dozen former Look of the Year contestants, as well as industry insiders, and obtained 12 hours of previously unseen behind-the-scenes footage. The stories we have heard suggest that Casablancas and some of the men in his orbit used the contest to engage in sexual relationships with vulnerable young women. Some of these allegations amount to sexual harassment, abuse, or exploitation of teenage girls. Others are more accurately described as rape. Here's more. There's 2 or 3. This Trump at the time was dating Marla Maples, the woman who in 93 became his second wife. But his close involvement in the contest raises questions for the president. Did he know that Casablancas and others were sleeping with contestants? Journalists have scoured almost every corner of the 45th president's life, but his friendship with Casablancas and his involvement in the Look of the Year in 91 and 92 have been largely overlooked. Yet the competition is more than a footnote in the Donald Trump story. He married a former Look of the Year contestant, the current First Lady, Melania Trump. You heard that right. That very competition that we were, or that very competition we were talking about a little bit ago, that creepy thing that, you know, that all these girls are dancing up on him and all that. That's what Melania Trump came up through. Once again, back to this whole trafficking thing. If you're trying to pick out a product. So it's not clear how Casablancas first met Trump, but according to several former models who encountered him during the 1980s, businessman became a regular at his parties. Patty Owen, an Elle and Cosmopolitan cover star, recall seeing Trump at elite parties as far back as 1982. He would always be at the bar. That's where he would stay, and that's where all the new models would hang out. She says, whenever I saw him, I was always like, why does John have to invite him? Barbara Pilling, also then an elite model, told us Trump asked her out for dinner in the summer of 1989 at Industry Soiree. She recalls Trump asking how old she was. I said 17, and he said, that's just great. You're not too old, not too young. All right. Speaking of The Guardian, 4 former elite models say that in the late 1980s or early 90s, When they were teenagers, the agency required them to attend private dinners with Trump, Casablancas, and sometimes other men. In the spring of 91, Trump and Casablanca struck a business deal. Trump would sponsor Look of the Year's final and host competitions at the Plaza, which would double as the HQ. In the newly unearthed behind-the-scenes footage of Look of the Year 91, Trump makes a series of appearances alongside Casablancas, who he describes as my friend John. Trump now disputes being friends with Casablancas. The president's representatives told The Guardian that he denies it in the strongest possible terms. Trump, they said, hardly knew him, spent very little time with him, and knew very little about him. At 16, Stacey Wilkes was one of the older contestants in Look of the Year. The 1992 Fox documentary reported that the average age was 15. During a photo shoot, a photographer instructs a 15-year-old to show more of her cleavage by pulling her bra lower. More, he tells her, more. The behind-the-scenes footage seen by The Guardian shows brief snippets of the future president mingling with the Look of the Year models. Some former contestants recall him being there as they got dressed for events. Every time we changed, it was like Trump would find a reason to come backstage, Wilkes said. A Canadian contestant from 1992 recalled similar incidents. He'd come by and say, "Hey girls, are we ready?" she says. "I remember thinking, what have I got myself into?" Trump denies in the strongest possible terms behaving inappropriate with any Look of the Year contestants. His representatives say he was not aware of any predatory environment at the time. Others, however, observed a disturbing side of the contest. Ohad Oman, a young reporter for a magazine in Tel Aviv, was sent to cover it in 91 and 92. He attended a number of the after parties and remembers seeing girls drinking alcohol. He recalls one particularly debauched party telling the Guardian, "I saw girls sitting on guys' laps. I remember one guy putting his hand down a girl's top. I remember thinking they were younger than me, and I was 17 going on 18. The legal drinking age is 21 in the U.S. You guys know that." Says others who were present recall underage models being served alcohol at the contest. Trump's representatives say he did not provide alcohol to the contestants or encourage any models, whether below the drinking age or not, to drink alcohol. In the newly uncovered footage, a man can be heard off camera saying, "Come on, babes, let's get some liquor in you." Jesus Christ. 2002, Casablancas faced his own set of accusations in the civil courts. A former Look of the Year contestant, known only as Jane Doe 44, filed a lawsuit against him of repeatedly sexually abusing her, beginning when she was 15. The lawsuit also alleged that Casablancas engaged in a pattern of seducing, sexually exploiting, and/or abusing minor girls, including girls as young as 14 or 15 years old. But in 2003, the LA Superior Court dismissed the claims against him because he did not live in California where it had been filed. Trump's representatives have told The Guardian he denies in the strongest possible terms having any knowledge at the time that Casablancas allegedly engaged in sexual relationships with Look of the Year contestants, including those who were under the age of consent, or that Casablancas allegedly enabled others to exploit or abuse teenage models. Which, keep in mind, the majority of them would probably be under the age of consent, because it sounds like they're talking about teens. So it sounds like they probably maxed out at like 18, maybe 19. But Casablanca's sexual interest in teenage girls predated this period. His marriage to his second wife, Danish model Jeanette Christensen, ended in 1983 when it emerged that he was having an affair with a 15-year-old model. He met his third wife, Brazilian model Aline Wermelinger, in 92 when she was a Look of the Year contestant staying at Trump's Plaza. They married the following year. Casablancas was 51 and she was 17. In 1990, Casablanca sent a teenage model for her first casting call at a residential address on New York's Upper East Side to meet a photographer who, it turned out, was Jeffrey Epstein. The lawsuit states that Epstein ordered the 15-year-old girl to undress before taking photos of her, pushing her against a wall, and sexually assaulting her. So George Horaney, a businessman whose American Dream Calendar Girls beauty contest had been running in Las Vegas casinos since 1978, recalls encountering Epstein at Mar-a-Lago in January 93. Horaney says that Trump asked him to organize a party that month with some of his pageant's finalists, promising to invite heads of modeling agencies and prospective sponsors for his competition. He had me fly in all these girls and gave me a $30,000 budget for airfares and limos to pick them up at the airport, he says. The girls were all decked out, expecting to meet all these VIPs. But after an hour at the party, Horaney says there seems to be only one other guest, Epstein. Holy shit. And I was like, "Donald, where are the guys? What's going on here?" And he said, "Well, this is it." Horaney says he realized this is a Jeff Epstein party, basically. Holy shit. I mean, obviously, this probably, if this could be proven, if there's receipts for this somewhere, that's wild. That if you like legitimately threw a private party for just Epstein? That okay. I mean, that one's a little bit of a outside. Okay, so what would be George Rainey, the businessman who's American Dream Calendar Girls Beauty Contest, that he was supposed to, he said Trump asked him to organize a party with the pageant's finalists, and that it's basically Epstein was the only one who showed up, is what it sounds like. That's wild allegation. There are now at least 25 sexual misconduct allegations against the president, ranging from unwanted advances and harassment to serious sexual assaults. More than half relate to models or pageant contests. After a look at the year 91, Stacey Wilkes returned to Louisville and quit school, despite having told the judges she would finish. I thought that was the reason I lost, she says. So I might as well leave if I want to make it as a model. We were really broke. She adds that women were raising concerns at the time and were ignored. I think models from the 90s tried so hard over and over, and nobody believed what we had to say. And here's some photos of, accidentally, I'm not going to say it to YouTube because I saw, whatever. It looked like there might have been a little bit of nipple poking out, I guess. But anyways, I guess there's pictures of Ivanka when she's younger there. Maybe it wasn't, because maybe it was from when she was younger, or maybe that's when she was from an adult. But either way, here's her modeling photos from when she was young. And keep in mind, she was a contestant in that thing, of which there's allegations Trump was just hanging out there in very weird, creepy ways, which I remember now looking back when this stuff came out and everyone was kind of like, what? No. But yeah, it doesn't look not aging so well, huh? Maybe the lefties were onto something. So, all right, let's roll the chat, see what you guys got to say. It's been a minute. Let me see. Someone says holding them accountable will have to be done behind the scenes. Might have just disappear them because no judge will prosecute. I'm sorry, Nevsky, I love you, but that's retarded. I don't know. That's just gay. I don't even really just say, it'll be behind the scenes. That's just Q level trust the plan shit. It's really nothing more than that. Steve Bannon's always been spook. He sure does seem spooky, and we will get into that. So. Scrolling through, see what. Queen Calmad's on a road trip. Have fun, be safe, Queen Calmad's. Bannon's Georgetown Jesuit train, says Black Guy. Keep going. Let me see what else we got. JMS says they don't want to lose funding on cloning eugenics, just like COVID cover-up was more about virology funding than malicious power grabs. Let me see. Oh, someone was complaining about audio. Did I bring up audio? Oh, never mind. That's right. I'm back to the spot where I messed up the audio earlier. My bad. I fixed it. See what else you guys got to say. Jose needs a tattoo that says StreamYard. Yeah, I guess so. I sure do. Yeah, I don't know. As much as they be fucking me, you'd think I could get a tattoo on my face, right? Crap. I think I accidentally scrolled to the bottom, so I think I might miss a bunch of chats. So let me scroll through. Tell me to check Kirby Sommers again. I know I need to check up on her. I will at some point. Let me see. Nevsky says how many people are involved in the Epstein stuff. Nobody truly knows. So no matter how many people face justice, you still wouldn't be satisfied. Well, I'd like to see something. I mean, you can't literally run on this and then nothing. That was kind of my point from the beginning. So it's like the people saying, it doesn't matter, how many people, everyone say to cover up this, and you're like, yeah, sort of. But no, I mean, but still, that doesn't mean you had to do this. This is insane. So, holy shit. Qbert says my wife went through John Casablanca modeling when we were younger. Cool. So you're my Illuminati connection, I guess. So let me see what else you guys got. Saying don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Yeah, don't let the child rape be the enemy of the okay. Right. So let me see. All right. Let's see. Melania is a groomer, says JMS. I don't know if Melania I wouldn't be surprised if she has nothing in there that says that, though. All right. I know this is hard to believe, but Jeffrey Epstein was my Uber driver this morning, says Lance. All right, sorry if I missed some. I accidentally hit the little button that scrolled to the bottom, and I probably missed a ton of chat, so sorry. But all right, let's move into the next story, guys. Let me see, what do we got? Which, by the way, thank you to Mr. Dr. Professor Joshua at ACHAM. I appreciate the hookup for that. For those who are unaware, I don't know why I used that as my segue here. That was a stupid segue. Here's a post from Naftali Bennett, who's a former prime minister, as he says here. But this has been one of the more latest things in the Epstein thing is the pushback on him not being Mossad. So I'll go ahead and read this. This is Naftali Bennett, as a former Israeli prime minister with Mossad, having reported directly to me. I can say to you with 100% certainty, the accusation that Jeffrey Epstein somehow worked for Israel or the Mossad running a blackmail ring is categorically and totally false. Epstein's conduct, both the criminal and the merely despicable, had nothing to do whatsoever with the Mossad or state of Israel. Oops, my bad. Sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing. Epstein never worked for the Mossad. The accusation is a lie being peddled by prominent online personalities such as Tucker Carlson, pretending they know things they don't. They just make things up, say it with confidence, and these lies stick because it's Israel. Now we have Tucker responded, said, you just won't take anymore. Instead of issuing threats on social media, why don't you sit down for a rational interview on Jeffrey Epstein's ties to the Israeli government? We'll reach out to your office this morning. And so Tucker then responded, as he said here. So who knows? Maybe we'll get an interview with Naftali Bennett soon. I doubt it, but just want to point out that it did get responded to almost immediately by Tucker. But then here's Candace pointing out, you're sharing a video of here's Naftali Bennett, literally teaching you how to lie. So let's go and watch this.
Mossad Yesha, in conjunction with My Israel, has arranged instruction day for wiki editors. The goal of the day is to teach people how to edit in Wikipedia, which is the #1 source of information today in the world. As a way of example, if someone searches the Gaza flotilla, we want to be there. We want to be the guys who influence what is written there, how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature.
So for those who are unaware, we've covered this a long time ago. He was one of the big pushers of that move to essentially be tech Jew spooks out there, patrolling the world, altering Wikipedia to make reality fit to the Zionist agenda. This is the sort of stuff that he pushes. So who's surprised? Not me. Here's Glenn Greenwald as well, saying one of Epstein's closest friend was former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak. This is a key source of Epstein's vast wealth, though mysterious, was from Les Wexner, whose primary life cause is Israel. Which, keep in mind, Les Wexner, I believe, is most well known for Victoria's Secret. I believe he also was one of the, I don't know if it was owner, CEO, what specifically, probably owner of Abercrombie & Fitch, and a number of other fucking, big clothing things. He was a big guy. I believe he had the largest, the stat is he had the largest house in Ohio at a time or something, or he was the richest man in Ohio or something like that. Super level, like top level rich kind of guy. Like this is like top tier 1% of the 1% of the 1% type shit, like a key mover and shaker in the world. And he just signed over his entire, financial everything over to Epstein, because that makes sense. Also, Ghislaine Maxwell's father, the billionaire Robert Maxwell, was a Mossad agent and mysteriously died after that was reported. Though Maxwell was British, Israel gave him a state funeral when he died. Epstein got the red carpet treatment when visiting Israel, which that was actually, I believe, one of the times he was trying to escape sentencing is when he went to Israel. He bankrolled major investments in Israeli tech, and he said, but fine, if Israel had no ties to Israeli intelligence or any other intel service, which is theoretically possible, why can't Pam Bondi, CIA, or FBI say that? And here's Glenn Greenwald, and he says, just some of the evidence. Again, with Pam Bondi was asked last week if Epstein had ties to any intelligence agencies. She said she had no idea when we get back to us. Why can't they say we investigated and he had no ties to the Israeli government? And he shares a few articles here. Here's an article from Times of Israel. Ehud Barak met with Jeffrey Epstein dozens of times, flew in private plane report. Here's another one. Jeffrey Epstein bankrolled Ehud Barak's high-tech investment report claims, which we've talked about that before. I believe Ehud Barak was it Unit 8200 or whatever the fuck that special glowy tech spec ops intel unit is, or whatever the fuck they are over in Israel. He was one of the guys in that. I believe it's called Boca. It was the AI one, which everyone theorized was like going to be used for the Jeffrey Epstein, and then they just used like some like next the top tier, like the next level above MS Paint, I guess. instead, as opposed to, despite they have Ehud in their pocket. Why? I don't know. That's bizarre. I also believe he has a Carbine 911, which is, I think, has access to like every fucking 911 reporter. So anytime you call the cops, Ehud Barak's company is probably getting recordings of that. So that's not weird at all. That's where, the former Prime Minister of Israel has access to every emergency call in the United States. Isn't that weird? Then you go, Israel gives Maxwell farewell fit for a hero. So publisher Robert Maxwell was given a funeral befitting a national hero by Israel, the country with which he developed an intimate and sometimes controversial relationship in the last 3 years of his life. And then here's the Wexner Foundation. It's just a picture of the. I don't know. This doesn't prove anything. He's just saying who it is. I guess here I'll read the story of the Wexner Foundation so you can see how much they're about that Israel shit. It says, since the early 1980s, the Wexner Foundation has been a pioneer in the field of Jewish private philanthropy. For 35 years, the Wexner Foundation has never wavered from its focus upon Jewish leadership in the Jewish world and Israel. In the Foundation's professionalism, standards of excellence, and strong relationships with Jewish communities and organizations have created a model of practice for Jewish private philanthropy that stood the test of time. And then just kind of on this angle, crap, I accidentally exited out of the video sharing. Give me a second. Let me get, or the screen sharing. Let me see. This is one. Here we go. Here's Hot Star, who is he's actually the writer, Simon Dovey, which is obviously a pseudonym, the writer of I can't think of it. Eye of the Chicken Hawk. Eye of the Chicken Hawk, great book. Because one thing I don't get is, why would old money philanthropic oligarchs like Rockefeller and Rothschild use a child sex trafficker as an estate manager to capture and control the wealth of new money tech entrepreneurs created from the hyperinflation of stocks since the 90s? Which is, I know, Hot Star is one of those great accounts, at the _Hot Star. Like I said, the author of The Eye of the Chicken Hawk. He's one of those great accounts. He's such like big brain that a lot of times I scroll by and I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about? But then every now and then you're like, oh, fuck. And this is one of the ones where you're like, oh, shit, this is some good connecting. I thought this was good to follow up with the last tab we had up, since I was getting in the Wexner Foundation. Since, let's be real, this does kind of, from my understanding, this isn't my forte. This does kind of rely on a jump up, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm missing connection here from this super group, like the Les Wexner super group. We essentially were sort of getting at there. That's the Wexner Foundation, of which, let's be real, Epstein essentially had complete and utter control over. So that was basically his, because he had the power of attorney over Wexner. And then also they were part of a larger group, the super group of a number of other ones, the Bronfmans, who also had weird connections to the NXIVM cult, and also to other different, big moneyed individuals, like top tier. And I think the connection there is probably somewhere in there is probably the connection to Rockefeller and Rothschild, of which I don't know the specific one, but you can probably just vaguely just assume it. Let's be real. So I think, Hot Star doesn't, provide the connection there. So I will just be honest. I think maybe there's a dubious connection, but I mean, let's be real. It's probably there. I just don't know it offhand. So just being in the interest of honesty, throwing that out there. So that is the kind of the jump or the assumption and logic I think you have to make here. Is that the first sentence that let's be real, Epstein's probably some sort of Rockefeller, Rothschild money manager. Which, let's be real, this dude got, handed the entire, one of the richest men in the world. One of the richest of men. And I can't even, emphasize enough. I made the point, I think he's either had the largest house or was either the richest man in Ohio at the time. Top tier, top 100, type shit. And Epstein just got it all after getting hired in his late 20s as a teacher at a prestigious school that only services the elite, at which the headmaster was a former CIA dude during I forget what was it, was he during Iran Contra? He was some sort of intern in go between, who his son then becomes Iran Contra. He's also the guy we covered that the strange relations, I think. Which, what an ironic name, which is that weird sci-fi, shit, which sounds to be describing probably his fucking life of entering into some sort of trafficking ring and as a victim and, essentially graduating into a perpetrator and some sort of, one of the, the vested interests in this elite oligarchy. His rise to that in the portrayal of some sort of John Carter of Mars sort of epic. I don't know. Very just weird stuff. And then he goes. So let's follow up with this rest of his story. He says, like, if you're a philanthropist known for your contributions to public health, why would you set Bill Gates up as a funding conduit and allow him to gain all the credit for your good work? This doesn't make sense. Which, I mean, for those that aren't aware, I think this post also does kind of assume people know a lot more than they do. Because I think a lot of people may not realize things like Epstein had his own office in Harvard. Is my understanding. Like, he wasn't a professor there. He just had a place. And that was, I believe, after he got convicted. So, I mean, he had all these weird connections. Obviously, a lot of people are aware of the Hawking supposedly ended up going to the thing. And, many other of these highfalutin, top tier, even like the pop level, like type of scientists out there that he was hobnobbing with. So, kind of weird. So he says, like, if you're a philanthropist known for your contributions to public health. Oh, I already said that. And then he says, and here's an excerpt from something. He says, for another thing, the grant-making process of the Gates Foundation is simpler in one respect than that of the Rockefellers, at least in the area of health, which the elder Gates has concentrated on. The money has generally been donated to existing groups of efforts like the Malaria Vaccine Initiative and the International AIDS Vaccine Initiative rather than used to create institutions. And both the elders Gates and Miss Stonesifer, okay, say that is likely to remain the case for the foreseeable future. And he goes, and why even have Epstein arrested? Why not just kill him? Why have him arrested and then kill him in the most publicly inducing manner possible? Then attach the name of Bill Gates' signed advisor as an executor to his estate in the 11th hour. What does it all mean? Attach the name of Bill Gates' science advisor as the executor to his estate? That's wild. Huh. Here's an excerpt. It says Epstein's 11th hour executor says he won't serve for estate. The biotech venture capitalist Nikolic says shocked to be named. $578 million trust obscures details of who will get money. Huh. That's interesting. Yeah. So then all the money, essentially the entire estate of Epstein, gets transferred over to some random guy who happens to be the science advisor of Bill Gates. And then Hot Star goes, who is Melanie Walker? And then this is Melanie Walker. This is alumni of Global Shapers community. Global Shapers, creepy name. I don't know what that is. This is MD, clinically specialized in endovascular neurosurgery and vascular neurology with postdoctoral studies in computational neuroscience. Formerly neurotechnology and brain science advisor to William H. Gates III. That's Bill Gates, guys, at BGC3. Director of World Bank Group. Deputy Director for Global Development, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Advisor for Macroeconomics and Health, World Health Organization. Practitioner in the developing world. Currently Rockefeller Fellow and Clinical Associate Professor. University of Washington School of Medicine. Author of numerous peer-reviewed publications, member, executive board, American Media Association Foundation, young global leader, and co-chair for the Global Future Foundation, or Future Council on Neurotechnology and Brain Science World Economic Forum. Holy shit. That glows bright as sun as science stuff is. Now, I have no idea who this bitch is and what even he's getting at. Interesting. Now, then he attaches... To be honest, I'm not entirely sure what all this means. Like I said, this stuff is stuff that a lot of stuff is stuff I go through with you guys, and Hot Star is an interesting mind. So I don't know. This is all weird. I don't know what it all means. And now he leaves as a final clue, which I have not watched yet, so you guys can, decipher it with me. I think this is from... What is this from? Is this from... I never watched... what's the Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman... God, why can't I think of it? The... whatever, the sex Illuminati one, whatever. Why can't I think of that right now? It's really bugging me. I can't think of the name of that. Whatever, I'll come back to it later. One of you guys in the chat will remember it. But let's go and play this. I'm assuming it might be from that. That seems like the most fitting. Let's watch it.
Do you know what's so nice about doctors?
Usually a lot less than people imagine.
They always seem so knowledgeable.
Oh, they are very knowledgeable about all sorts of things.
Where the rainbow ends.
And by the way, the caption here is, where do doctors get their knowledge?
Where the rainbow ends.
Don't you want to go where the rainbow ends?
Well, now that depends where that is.
Well, let's find out.
What this is?
Okay, so he made a little edit here. So I thought maybe this was a clip from a movie. And so obviously Tom Cruise, some Rainbow Room. But then he goes, the Rainbow Room, New York City, Ray Noble. Says the Rainbow Room, New York presents Ray Noble and his American Dance Orchestra. Original live recordings from 1935.
I was doing a photo session in Rockefeller Plaza, in Rockefeller Plaza, in Rockefeller Plaza.
Huh. Well, that's interesting. Okay. Sometimes there's symbolism there. I believe if I recall correctly, wasn't there Rainbow Room? That was some maybe one of you guys at Parapolitics had from older time stuff. So this is from the early 1900s. I think that was some sort of blackmail something or other from back in the day. So it's interesting he points out these connections in this movie between Rainbow Room, making allusions to a Rainbow Room and the elite. And then, yeah. So, I don't know, interesting. If anyone has any thoughts on that, feel free to drop them in the chat. And here is more from our boy here, the Hot Star, once again. And here is a video. This is another one, though. I already watched this one, so I know where this one goes a little bit. And he's quote tweeting, as we talked about yesterday, that it says, Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, is ready to reveal truth of the pedophile client list as insiders. So why are Republicans blocking her? And so here's Simon Dovey, the author of the Eye of the Chicken Hawk, made this little clip. So let's go and watch this.
You're going to have to learn as quickly and thoroughly as possible the English system of intelligence, the black arts, particularly counterintelligence. The uses of information, disinformation, and how their use is ultimately power.
Now here's a picture of Ghislaine Maxwell. For the audio listeners, this is her sitting in what looks like a place where just your common people would be at. This is actually an In-N-Out Burger. I mean, they haven't said it yet, which they will in a second. But it's an In-N-Out Burger, one of the outside seatings, just in some sweats. So just Ghislaine Maxwell, just looking like an every person type thing, reading a book. So just reading a book, getting some food. So let's go ahead and watch this. Keep going. It says, this is from the New York Post, Jeffrey Epstein's gal pal Ghislaine Maxwell spotted at an In-N-Out Burger in first photos since his death, from the New York Post. This is back in 2019. And then here's another one from the Washington Post. Opinion, Ghislaine Maxwell read my book at an In-N-Out Burger. Then it sold out on Amazon. Here's the book. The book is The Book of Honor, The Secret Lives and Deaths of CIA Operatives. Let's keep going. And then here you go. Discrepancies in the photos of Ghislaine Maxwell at the In-N-Out Burger suggest they may have been photoshopped. I mean, obviously this is just one node, one little thing, but that is weird. I think for those who are pattern recognizers out there, I think you should be careful. And I think one thing one moral you should get from me from this episode is I think this guy is probably, let's be real, I think Epstein was probably some sort of combo CIA Mossad asset, likely. I mean, we know he was an FBI asset. I've read the documents for that. That's been admitted. So the idea that he hasn't done work for the CIA, I find it to be very unlikely. So I think he almost certainly has been some asset in some way, shape, or form for the CIA. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know I've talked about even the show. Like we had John Kiriakou. You hear him talk about as a former CIA guy. How the people there feel about Israel and how they're like, oh, we hate their fucking intel communities. They always and like who knows? Maybe that's the truth. I don't know what's the truth there. Maybe that's all just some coordinated fucking bluster from the CIA. That's a way to throw off any sort of guff that they're like basically one and the same. But it always does seem like, at least from an intelligence perspective, that they're incestuous as shit. So I don't know to what degree that's true or not, but I don't know. I have a hard time believing this guy isn't CIA as well. Also, just in a pure pattern recognition type perspective, it just seems unlikely. It also seems you see the players out there and the connections attached to certain players, like the Bannons, the Posobics, hell, even the Tuckers. As much as we love Tucker, and he's great, and he's one of the ones pushing the right narrative. I mean, maybe he is legit, but I mean, let's be real. This dude has a suspect past. You look at his dad being a former Voice of America guy. I mean, Posobiec, he was straight up, I believe, Navy intel. Same with Steve Bannon. So it's like, I don't know. It kind of looks like it kind of looks like an intel game to me. Some sort of narrative. And does that mean? I don't know. At least that group right there, that rough group that I just described, they seem to be generally pushing the things that I want right now. But keep your head on a swivel, and I'm very concerned this Ghislaine thing is that swivel. I feel like it's going to be sold to us as like, well, this is the best thing we can get. I mean, this is Ghislaine. I mean, you can't get any better than that. And I have a feeling that throughout the course of this, things will get downplayed. And I won't even be surprised if perhaps she even gets some sort of commutation, some sort of pardoning, or at the low level, because what I think I mentioned yesterday, she's currently in the pursuit of an appeal. So the appeal could also go through. So there's a number of ways this could play out, but I don't see this ending well. I mean, especially considering we also had the Diddy stuff before this, is completely want right before this. So I know I see this being the transition. Will it be that? I don't know. It's completely uncertain with this administration. As I've said, the stooges, the Trump stooges, seem to furiously every time one of these things happens build the off ramp, and then Trump, like I said before, just like the Kool-Aid man, just busts in and just completely destroys it every single time. So I keep seeing the off ramp, like, oh cool, they're building up this easy little rhetorical off ramp for Trump here, and then he just continually just doesn't take it and just fucking Leroy Jenkins, just like right through it, and just over and over and over again. So I don't want to make any sort of promises that the Ghislaine cover up is coming, but I don't know. It's too damn predictable. I can see it happening, but I also could just as well see, because there seems to be some sort of craziness in the machine, or unless that's the intention, I don't know. I have a hard time believing that this was the intent from the jump. So I don't know. Wild stuff. All right, guys. All right. Let's get into the last story, I think. Let's roll for the chat, see what you guys got to say first. And then let's get to the last story and get out of here. Nevsky says, I don't want government to be abolished. I want a king. I'd prefer a king. I'll give you that. I'm a big Hoppa guy, and it's not my ultimate desire, but I prefer it to what we have now. Wise Elk says, Trump burnt me in 2018 when he started openly stabbing us in the back. Hardcore Trumpers are absolutely in a cult. This makes me sad. Denial is a hell of a drug. Yep. Heaven is a kingdom and hell is a democracy. Oh, that's an interesting tagline. It's a fun one. As long as government exists, there will be intelligence agencies that aren't going anywhere. That's true. Marty McFly says, does it even matter who he officially did or didn't work for, considering it's clear who the benefactors are? Yeah, I mean, that's true. Well, yes and no. I mean, I do think it's nice to know that the intel community is who's doing what. I think that does matter. I mean, we know who the benefactors are. So, I don't know, both sides, like the people who benefit from it, like the paying for it, and the ones doing it, I think they're basically both equally as important. So Hustle says, the people with the real resources and power have enough resources as power remain essentially anonymous. Exactly. Which is like, yeah, that's kind of like what I think Hotstar was kind of getting at with that the thread before this one, was kind of like how these games are played, the money's moved, like, oh, the honorifics thrown on everybody's stuff. Like it's you see somebody says right here, Albert Downey or Serene, I don't even know what you're saying there. Just like this sounds like Oh, you're listing off black nobility. I thought you were just being silly. Okay, scrolling through. When a gay male couple start adopting a bunch of little kids, pedo shit is usually going on, says Wise Elk. Ones that don't have pedo leanings also don't adopt more than 2 kids at most, says Wise Elk. Perhaps. Eyes Wide Shut. There you go. Why couldn't I think of that name? That's ridiculous. I couldn't think of Eyes Wide Shut as wild. So Gerald says, check out Sean McCain's latest podcast, Wake the Dead, on Eyes Wide Shut. Kubrick put a time code in it. Fucking wild. I still haven't watched. I need to go back and watch the movie first off. And someone saying Greenwald has got with his dude when he was 19. Greenwald was 40 and he bought 2 boys on top of that. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Some of the stuff I hear about Greenwald is suspicious. I don't really trust him. I mean, hell, even if you get to the like, oh, everyone goes, oh, what a great hero he was. And I guess maybe, I don't know, but I also am noided enough to know a lot of the stuff that went on with The Intercept. And I mean, I'd have to get in the weeds and find some other specific sources to really like argue this with anybody or anything like that. But I'm suspicious, at the very least, of this guy. I don't know. But I don't know. He does seem to, like, I think he did abandon The Intercept around the time it was going to shit. So, you know, it's hard to judge. I mean, he could be some creep. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all. He has pattern recognition wise, it's all there, but he also has been generally pretty good, at least so far as stances. So it's kind of one of those things. Until I see you actually make a public thing, I kind of really have to somewhat withhold judgment. But I'm definitely suspicious. So. Someone says I need to talk to Alice Crypto about Kubrick. I'd be fine with that after I've seen it. So see, Nevsky's in the same boat as me. He says, never seen a Kubrick film, but I've heard the analysis of them. I tried to watch a Kubrick film once, and I was bored to fucking death. And I was like, this is awful. And I forget which one it was, and I moved on. So it wasn't Eyes Wide Shut, though. I feel like Eyes Wide Shut is an interesting enough plot to draw me in. It was the space one, I think. I forget which one. Space Odyssey or whatever. I don't know. It was fucking boring. It was weird. It was too artsy fartsy for me. I don't like it. All right. Let's see. JP Morgan assets. Oh yeah, that's right. JP Morgan asset as well with him. Yeah, we talked about JP Morgan connections. CIA is a Mossad asset, said Hustlebones. CIA and Mossad are the same entity, says Kaczynski. Exactly. Yeah. So. They're not the same. One serves the other. So is what you guys are saying. Gerald says Les Wexner put Diamond into CDC with Sandy Wiles. I don't know what that means. I don't know any of those guys. Let's see what else you guys got to say. Ooh, you guys got N Tower in there. 100% buying kids discussing any form. Someone's saying in there. You guys are talking about gays buying kiddos. All right, let's get into the final story of today. This is going to be a little. We're getting back into a reading. We're doing a live reading of our homie, the IRC_NIC. That is his Substack. Is IRC_NIC. It's also his Twitter at IRC_NIC. I think you can also his like name is IRC_NIC. Without the underscore. So any one of those combinations, you should be able to find him. He is, I know, probably like after Oklahoma City bombing, I'd say probably maybe some of the smaller things I'm probably more known for is covering Dutroux quite a bit, I guess. Sort of. I by no means try to portray myself as any sort of expert or anything. I just find it intriguing and connects to a lot of things. But he's been kind of my point man, particularly. He has a really great Twitter. I was following his Twitter before he even took up Substack. And so I've been, then every time he's been making a different one of his Substacks, I've been, for the most part, covering him, depending on what his Substack is. He's got 2 parts on some sort of deep dives in Dutroux so far, and this one is Serial Murder in Belgium, the Butcher of Mons. He says, programmed to kill the European tour. He says, let's take a look at one of the most mysterious serial killers who operate in Belgium. Now, I'm going to call this, for the purpose of this, I guess you could say a mini-series, because how I've been doing live readings for anyone who's new with this show, for these morning dumps is I usually save them for like the last 20, 30 minutes or so, and I'll just read a section or whatever for one of these longer pieces like this. And that's what we're going to do today. Like I said, I've already covered 2 other things from this before, but this is a separate little aside from even that deep dive. This is going into a serial murder, I think roughly around the same time of a lot of the Dutroux affair happenings. And so this is taking more of like a program to kill type perspective on it. So I think this will be particularly interesting. I'm interested in learning more about this. And so I figured this is a long read. And so I may as well get two birds stoned. And when I read it with you guys and make content out of it. So that way it's out there, and that way I'm sharing it with y'all. That way you guys can go check out his content and go read the rest of his stuff. So he says, recently I reread in its entirety Program to Kill by author David McGowan. It is part of the few books that have kickstarted my interest in parapolitics and all things adjacent, even including a chapter about Dutroux and pedophile networks. I'd gone back to parts of the book numerous times over the years, but I figured rereading it completely would give me a new perspective on the ideas presented inside. McGowan isn't always 100% factual. As far as my expertise goes, mostly on his Dutroux chapter, which I will say that is kind of what I've heard as well. I've never really looked into it to verify if that's true or not, but that's kind of my complaints. I think he's not well known for having the greatest notes or sources or this or that, and a lot of it is somewhat a lot of it's stuff you can just look up yourself. What's it called? The bibliography or whatever the fuck that a lot of people put at the end where you source all your different shit, especially academic pieces. From my understanding, he did stray away from a lot of that. So it's not as the same as Aberration in the Heartland of the Real or something, where you go to the back and it's something ridiculous, 100 plus pages of notes and this and that. That's not to say this isn't a piece of research as well. It's just he just handled it in a different way than a lot of people did. So that's been my understanding of the complaints a lot of time, but still phenomenal books. Just maybe not take everything as absolute fact, as well you shouldn't do anytime, really. Anyways, McGowan is not always 100% factual, and some of the anecdotes about how Walpurgisnacht and Adolf Hitler's birthday correspond to events in these stories might throw some of you off, but I do think it's the main theory of individuals with a history of mind control, especially veterans of war involved in MK Ultra sub-projects, being fertile grounds for the breeding of serial killers is interesting, and even if some cases don't convince me completely, it is mostly accurate. But then he brings in the trade of snuff movies and CSAM, with the possibility that there were more perpetrators than a single killer, with some of the group or cult being involved, most famously with Son of Sam case, see Maury Terry's book, The Ultimate Evil. And for me, that brings it all together. There's definitely a secret history related to the most famous serial killer cases in America. I can say the amount of evidence and what some would call coincidences presented is overwhelming, and it makes me inclined to adhere to McGowan's theories. Says, I want to say that reading the book isn't a particularly pleasant experience simply because of the fact that you're mostly reading about details of some of the most gruesome murders ever committed, but mid-typing I realized that this is what I'm 100% doing with this blog and with this article. So I can't really say anything about that, I guess. It does flow pretty nicely and isn't a particularly difficult read. But to get back to the subject at hand here, this reread inspired me to take a look at some of Belgium's most forgotten serial killer stories and analyze them through my own lens in something akin to Program to Kill. Wikipedia lists 17 of them, including Marc Dutroux and the Brabant Killers. I guess Dutroux could qualify as a serial killer if you really want to push the definition, but his first goal wasn't to kill, and he didn't start killing until 1995 officially. As for the Brabant Killers, theoretically you could say that they are too, but again, that's stretching the definition a bit. Most of these cases are treated with a different view compared to the traditional serial killer. Here's what Dave McGowan has to say about the definition of a serial killer. For instance, serial killers are said to act alone, driven to do so only by their own private demons. So far removed from ordinary human behavior are their actions, they would not, indeed could not, share their private passions with others. It is also claimed that serial killers target a particular type of victim, similar in age, gender, race, hairstyle, attractiveness, and other physical attributes. It is further claimed that serial killers follow a readily identifiable modus operandi, with the means of obtaining victims and the trajectory of the crime following a well-defined pattern. In reviewing the case histories of more than 24 other alleged serial killers, it becomes readily apparent that few, if any, fit the supposed profile. There are any number of serial killer cases where it is officially acknowledged that there was more than one perpetrator. The rest of the list is pretty standard, nothing particular to be noted. Most cases seem to have been solved. But in my previous reads, one figure quickly stepped up as the most interesting case of serial killing in Belgium. One case that hasn't been solved this day, almost 30 years later. One that happened the same time as the Dutroux affair, that would be the Butcher of Mons, or Le Dépeceur des Mons in French. Before getting into it, I want to point out some local geography. So she does put a little map of the area so you guys can be familiar with, which maybe we may refer to here and there. It says Mons is a Belgian city situated near the French border. So here we go. We can refer to this again. Here's Mons. They are right on the French border down here. 30-minute ride away from Charlemagne and Maubeuge in France, Charleroi is infamous for the Dutroux affair and its trafficking rings. And Maubeuge is the first hit of the Brabant killers the Brabant killers. Mons and Charleroi is part of the same province neighboring France called Hainaut. The whole of the province shares mostly the same landscape. The former glory of the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century is left now to decay. You walk among former workers' housing and surrounded by old smokestacks, steel factories, and blast furnaces. It is one of the provinces with the highest poverty and lowest employment rates in the history. Most importantly, in Castau, to the north of Mons, NATO installed its SHAPE, S-H-A-P-E, it's an acronym, military headquarters, Supreme Headquarters Allied Powers Europe, across the border in France, only an hour and a half away from Mons and Charleroi. Another serial killer and pedophile was operating. Michel Fourniret, the south of Belgium, the French border, and Hainaut seem to be a hotspot for criminal activity. On this map, Dutroux's activity is highlighted in red. The Brabant killers in green, Michel Fourniret in blue, and finally the butcher Mons in yellow. So you can see all these different colors and you can kind of see where they are geographically speaking, all within an hour or an hour and a half drive away from each other. There's a lot of smaller cases I'm not even mentioning here, drugs, trafficking, prostitution, etc. Belgium is obviously a small country, but when you bring in this factor as well as the local corruption, I think it's fair to say this region truly is a hotspot and for a good reason. All right, we're getting to the first portion. This is all I'm probably going to read for today is this one because I didn't manage my time well today and we're already past time. The Butcher of Mons. The story of the Butcher of Mons starts in January of 96, on the 4th to be exact. Carmelina Rousseau is last seen alive at a supermarket in Jemappes near Mons. She worked in shops and sold lingerie to make a living. Her disappearance doesn't seem to be alerting local authorities. Not much is done about the case. 3 weeks later, a single body piece, the lower torso and pelvis area, is found in France in a small village called Château de la Baye. Probably fucked that up, which is traversed by the river Schelde or Escaut in French. The body part likely made its way there through the Han River in Mons, which flows through the Schelde, into the Schelde. In this case as a whole, there's a few details about names that are intriguing. For example, here the literal definition or translation of haine in English is hatred. More on that later. The body part picked up in France isn't identified and no link is made with Carmelina's disappearance and murder in Belgium. A few months later, on July 21st, on Belgium's national holiday, Martine Bone goes missing. French national, she crossed the Belgian border and settled there to work as a prostitute in brothels around Mons train station, where the poor and lonely go out for drinks. A hotel/bar in particular seems to have been frequented by all the victims. The Metropole, run by Monique Kong. Monique Kong was interviewed by large by Morgan Vanderburg in his book Il Est Mons 5 about the Butcher case. In her years of experience, she had seen a lot go down at the Metropole and knew most of the victims. She seemed to know about all the locals. And guess what? Now, this is her talking to Vanderburg. She says, even Dutroux came by here. He stopped by several times to buy cigarettes. Martin Bone was also an informant for local police. Bone's torso, Martine Bone, was found 5 days later in the waters of the Haine River. Okay, so this is Monique is the one who said it. Okay. Monique was also, Martine was the informant. Bone's torso was found 5 days later in the waters of the Haine River, next to a path going across whose name is Chemin de l'Antiquité, which translated literally means the path of worry. Weird. Seems there could have been some sort of pattern going on with the names of places where the bodies were found. Well, that's creepy. The idea that there's literally, already pre-made waterways of where we dump bodies and we named them after and everything, if that's the case. But given knowing Belgium and its history, wouldn't be surprising. As with Carmelina, the body part isn't identified and not a lot of attention is paid to local authorities. It doesn't make things better when a month later in August, Marc Dutroux and his associates are arrested and the bodies of Julie and Melissa found. The Dutroux affair is the only thing Belgium is talking about. All police forces around the area are working on it. A few months pass until the next disappearance. On the 22nd of December 1996, Jacqueline Le Slurk, 33, goes missing. Jacqueline works as a housemaid and had just recently been through a tough divorce. She was often seen drinking around in bars and may have picked some men up to make ends meet. She's only officially declared missing in January 1997. Her sister dropped her off that evening at around 8 p.m. At 1 a.m., her bank card was used to try and withdraw money, but it got blocked, meaning someone entered the wrong PIN code. This time, it seems the case is gathering more local attention. but no body parts turn up, unlike the previous two. Her ex-husband Angelo was considered suspect by her family, but nothing could ever prove he killed her. Another couple months go by, another woman goes missing. Natalie Goddard, 22, is last seen on March 16th, 97, going to a fry shop with her boyfriend, Leopold Bogert. She had already been married, had a child, then divorced. The day before, she was attending one of the white marches organized across the country in honor of the victims of the Dutroux affair in Mons. Natalie was a drifter, went from house to house, and had no official home. A few days later, on March 22nd, a macabre discovery was made by the police officer. 9 trash bags full of body parts are found in Queusmes, which is Mons. Some of the trash bags bear the logo of the Knock Heist municipality on the other side of the country, at the northern extremity of Belgium, facing the North Sea and right next to the Netherlands. Odd. Inside the trash bags, body parts belonging to Jacqueline Leclerc and Martine Bone are found. The police immediately start a wide research effort across Mons and find a 10th bag, again near the Camine de la Antiquitude. I'm fucking that name up. More bags are being found, including one near the Sambre River at a locality known as La Hachette, or the Hatchet in English, one at Rue des Despots, or Deposit Street in English, and one in Saint Symphorien, the name of a saint who was decapitated. On April 12th, Natalie Goddard's head is found in yet another trash bag. On April 18th, it's her thighs and arms. In total, 18 bags are picked up over a few weeks' time, containing around 30 various body parts, belonging to the first 4 victims' legs, arms, thighs, feet, torsos, etc. Not all the parts of the victims were found, meaning the butcher probably had another dumping ground that was never discovered. Here's what the lawyer of the civil parties, Frank Discapoli, had to say about the time period. We must remember that at the time there was a psychosis in Mons. As soon as you saw a trash bag anywhere, you called the police. The population was in shock, and as a result, to reassure themselves, people may have tended to marginalize the victims, telling themselves it was only part of the population and nothing like this would happen to them. It's a self-defense reflex to think, I don't belong to this category, I have nothing to fear. However, most, if not all, the victims experience a period of fragility. However, everyone seemed to think since they weren't poor or prostitutes, the butcher wouldn't attack them, and it seemed over by summer. But in July, a woman named Begona Valencia, 37, went missing. She was never properly reported, lived a drifter life, and so the cops don't even know exactly when she disappeared. She had heavy mental troubles as well. On October 18th, a child playing near the Camine de Bethlehem in Hayon finds a skull. It will be identified. It's Begona Valencia. She would be the last victim of the butcher of Mons, who vanished right after, never to be seen again. There were a few murders before and after this crime spree that could have been the work of the butcher, but investigators never picked them up. Locals also had a myriad of stories about how some girls were almost abducted in the local train district, but no follow-up was ever given to them. Nevertheless, the butcher seemed to have stopped his activities in summer 97, leaving behind 5 official victims. The killer seemed to have been preying on women who came from a poor and sketchy background, who all frequented Mons train station district. He would pick them up, kill them, and then cut their bodies before putting different parts in trash bags and throwing them away. The lack of interest and effort put in by local police to seek what happened to these women led to the killer quietly getting away with it, leaving no trace. The judiciary police were in charge of the investigation of Mons, and the Dutroux case was mobilizing most of their task forces. Here's what the chief investigator of the Corpus Cell in charge of the Butcher of Mons investigation, Guy Marie Martin, has to say about their lack of work. At the time, there were no cell phones, so no phone lines to trace, no surveillance cameras except for one that was broken, no DNA, and the victim didn't have cars. These women were experiencing psychosocial suffering and a certain isolation for most of them. They were easy prey. Apart from Georgette, Jacqueline Leclerc's sister, the families did little to mobilize. And then a large part of the country's investigative forces were focused on the Dutroux affair and the police reform that followed. Other forces were still dealing with the Brabant killers. It's astounding to see that when 5 bodies turn up in a year, immediately in the wake of the Dutroux affair, the judiciary police basically tell us they're helpless and can't do anything. Same mistakes all over again. The chief investigator goes on. Discovering body parts is very psychologically violent. No one is prepared for it. We didn't expect a case of this magnitude. We quickly realized we were going to run out of resources. We only received reinforcements starting in March 98. The gendarme and local police forces joined the investigation. It lasted 3 or 4 months. It wasn't easy managing a department with different statuses, different routines, different compensation, different overtime, different IT systems. These kinds of things make the workload heavier. It seems that everything that made the Dutroux affair the complete fiasco we all know of was followed to the letter here. You don't pay attention when people start disappearing mysteriously. You don't solicit neighboring police services when you start out your very basic police investigation. You don't cooperate with the gendarmerie, and then you blame it all on the internal police wars, the era, and the lack of funds and policemen. All right, next episode, we'll get more into this. Take a moment, roll through the chat, and get on out of here. See what all you guys got to say. Here we go. Gerald Harrell, former Secretary of State Antony Blinken, was raised by Sam Pisar, Robert Maxwell's attorney. He said it himself. All right. To the dissemination of technology. He later frames technology transfers by major multinational corporations as giving rise to trans-ideological corporation where capital private enterprises. Oh, and on the lawyer's side of things, I'm pretty sure I read something the other day or saw something the other day, but apparently I guess Trump and Epstein actually shared a lawyer at one point, because the funny thing is there was some lawyer who came out that was like, I just want to say unequivocally there's nothing in the Epstein files that implicates Trump, and I know this because I've been a lawyer for both Trump and Epstein. And you're like, all right, man. I like, what do I even need to say that one? Oh, okay, yeah. Thanks, lawyer of both of these people. Okay. All right, scrolling through. Ooh, Apple Eater without Rome. Hey, what's up? Good to see you showing up. Good stuff. Thanks, Jose. Say what now? All right, guys. Well, we're basically done, guys. We're done for today. We're going to go ahead and wrap it on up. I appreciate everyone who joined us today. Maybe roll through, make sure I didn't miss any super chats over on Rumble. Just remind you guys can support me on Rumble if you want. If you want to do like the, kind of like a super chat type thing, or you can support me over at Patreon. But if you want to support me without giving any money, then leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify, all that sort of good stuff. If you want to, oops, did I make sure I didn't mess up my mic? Okay, we're good. I accidentally hit my thingy. But if you want to directly support the show with money, you can go over to patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. At the lowest level is $2. That gives you access to early episodes. And I usually keep about 4 or so behind the paywall. Do about 2 or so a week. So that's weeks of paywall content right there. You also get access to an ad-free RSS feed. You also get access to the pre-show and priority for the call-ins on me and Austin's weekly live call-in show, which is on Tuesdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. That's tonight, baby. Make sure you show up there. That's on both of our platforms. And also the Telegram. Also got the Telegram too. You just got to hit me up, ask for that link. I'll send it over. And at the highest level is my Patreon sponsors. And I give them a shout out every episode because I love them. I'm my co-host on Tower Gang, or used to be Tower Gang Toad, or at Learned Toad. I need to get that right. At Abrogate D's, at ZOVRACK, at _Infant Zeal, Tim Tuttle, at John Klebold, Will Bells, Delicious Blueberry Rabbit Eye Wine, big fan of the show, Torn May, and at Wayne, WAYNE, Taculus, and then Jordan Peterson. And I appreciate all of you guys for supporting the show. With that, guys, we are going to get out of here. Oh, yeah, tomorrow, I will not be in tomorrow. I got some shit I got to do with my kiddo. I will be back Thursday. So pop in tonight for Already Dead, hang out with us. But, yeah, I'll be back Thursday for the morning show. See you then. Love y'all. Bye-bye. Oh, I got it. 1 second. I got to set up my outro. I almost forgot about the outro. Let me give you a cool-ass outro real quick. I got a fun one for you guys today. I think you'll like it. This is a real fun one. A little bit long, but it's a fun one. So, all right. We'll see you all tonight. You guys should show up tonight, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, and then the next morning dump will be Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern. See you then. Enjoy the outro.
Got here as fast as I could. What's going on?
There's been some sort of breach in the underworld, and the worst of the worst are slipping through the cracks.
Is it Frieza? Cell?
Even worse, him.
Who's that guy?
Come on, really? He's the worst of the worst, Dad. One of the greatest evils in all of human history.
Oh, man. He sounds pretty strong. I want to fight him.
Goku, we gotta kill this guy.
What? Why?
That one man is responsible for a genocide that wiped out millions of innocent people, all in the name of total world domination.
I wanted to fight him.
Now is the time to brawl. He needs to be put down.
Listen to Mr. Piccolo. He's pure evil.
And?
Dad! Goku!
What? Sorry, it's just, is it really anything new? Piccolo and Vegeta used to be all about that, right?
Yeah, one time, sure, but that was ages ago.
And Vegeta's committed like 1 billion genocides. Like, he's wiped out entire species off the map, going one planet to the next. We watched him wipe out half of Namek alone.
Not bad.
Look, all I'm saying is,
Don't say
I'm saying is, all things considered, is it really that different?
Yeah, it's very different. There are levels to this, Goku.
But Vegeta killed way more people than him. Like, in power level alone, he'd be like 10 Hitlers.
Dad!
Holy shit.
shit.
And now he's got a wife and kid, and we're just kind of cool with him now.
Don't be preposterous, Kakarot. I'm at least 30 Hitlers.
Stop Hitler scaling! Goku, we had an entire world war just to stop this guy, alright? He's not just someone you can hit a few times and call it even. He stands against everything you and we stand for.
Really? Wow. What side were we on?
Huh?
In the war. I mean, we're kind of Japan, maybe, sort of, right? Where did we stand during that?
We should move on from this.
Also, wasn't Bulma's family responsible for a lot of military tech back then? Wonder where that all went towards.
Oh, God.
That's the woman I married.
Dad!
Vegeta and I might have at one time been considered evil, but we've changed, in large part thanks to you. That man has not.
Oh, okay. So if I fight him, maybe we could turn him into one of the good guys.
No!
Come on, he'll be like Vegeta. He could be a Z-warrior like
No,
us.
Goku, we are not adding Hitler to the group.
You know, when I was sent to Earth as a baby, I was supposed to take over the planet and stuff, but then I hit my head and became all nice. Maybe he's like that. Just one good knock to the noggin will set him right.
Dad, he's pure evil, okay?
So was Vegeta and Piccolo. Hell, we fought side by side with Frieza for a bit, and he's like 100
What
Hitlers.
kind of math is this?
Yeah, really, it's kind of gross.
How would I be 10? Is this really the hill you want to die on? You're just mad that you're only half a Hitler.
I'm serious. Using your guys' logic, if we're cool with Vegeta and the rest, is befriending this guy really all that crazy?
Piccolo, say something!
Gohan, I have no fucking idea how to argue that.
I think I hate you, Goku. Like, really, I don't like you anymore.
Goku, we don't have time to argue about this. People's lives are at stake. We've got to stop him.
Okay, you're right. No time for hypotheticals. Let's get him.
Yes!
Thank you, Goku.
And then when that's over...
No!
Hear me out. We kill him, and then after that, we wish him back, but reincarnated as, like, a small Indonesian child.
What the fuck are you even talking about?
What? It worked for Oob.
Dad, no! We are not wishing back Adolf Hitler to life just so you can fight him and then try to befriend him. Not everyone is redeemable.
But he wouldn't be Hitler. He'd be relative. He'd be a totally new, unrelated person with a clean slate.
But he'd still have Hitler powers.
Exactly.
But we can't. That'd be wrong, right? Like, even if it's not him.
Technically, it would be someone completely different.
Goku, you're going to hell when you die.
Well, I think that's settled. All right, Hitler. Let's see just how strong you really are.
Hitler's got hands. Who would have thought?